It is time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time. It's time.
It is time.
It's the Money Show.
The Money Show.
The Money Show. The Money Show.
The Money Show.
Makodem Mandibo. Let the conversation begin.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the Money Show. Makodem Mandibo. Afambo Chuka. Anya putasia. Kaime kaisi eme. Na nkata ndị Igbo. Maka ọganiru. Ka o wedịla anyị mma. Igbo na-eme ọfụma. Igbo na-edozi obodo. Igbo nọ na mba niile ekene m unu. Ụfọdụ ndị Enugu na-asị dejen. Ụfọdụ ndị Anambra na-asị nnọọ. Ụfọdụ ndị Ebonyi na-asị jọọkwa. Ụfọdụ ndị Imo na-asị unu abịala. Ụfọdụ ndị Abịa na-asị anyị abịawo. Ọka o melụ. Anyị ejebe. Nwanne m nwaanyị Priscilla. Keke ime.
Adịbụ Machuka, keke mere nna.
Udodi. Ọ na-agakwa?
Well, on our go Fuma, and as usual, Anya Bialu, we are here for the conversation. In the morning, so Bikondinonga retweet the space, Kando Zomran Anya Bidogo, because Oburo 10:59, no will it well.
Maluwa can the pension.
Yes, Dunu Nanya Biago Ogeru and Wendy Igbo. Anyone Wendy Igbo Gabiagin Bia together with Bankata. India Nene Duzu Budani Cordio Fuma. Yeah.
Dubai Ekenemonu. Welcome to the Money Show, Makodem Mandibo, where we gather to share ideas and rub minds and find solutions for our collective challenges. And also, kasi emi eba no abonye bata anyanolana ISU. Nene si fe na Ghana bai. Nene say if I game me about it. Sometimes I otakwa ndem madu fe so la nwe nkata. Okay, say emi eba. And we don't discriminate when it comes to communication. We just want you to communicate. So if you can't speak Igbo, subadro, it's Oyibo. If you can't speak English, it's Waibo. Obuwa na mara asu Igbo ofuma. Iborokwa na asu Oyibo ofuma. Igbo nyezia ya gwozia ya gwo ka abacha. It's Oyibo nka na akpọ English Igbo. Anyị na-aghọta ya. Important thing na anyị na-akpa nkata. Okay, today, guys, it's very interesting. This is the 17th episode of this show. Last week was about redefining our politics for good governance. And this is a continuation of that conversation. If you guys remember, last week we were talking and a lot of talk was coming about Igbo groups, Igbo elite groups, bodies that are supposed to fight for the Igbo cause, champion the Igbo cause, take us to where we need to go. A broad conversation. So I say, okay, let's give it a whole episode so that we can really go into it objectively and see what we can find in terms of way forward, solutions on way forward. I know if I do it, but near today in the way we are doing it now. Kesi Nwokoma, Odogwu n'obodo Igbo. Dogu number. Kekime, kewe.
Afa anyị na-etu m nnọọ. Dizie nnọọ ka ọ dizie nnọọ ka
Iwo dogu na. Ana ekwu. Ana agba asị. Iwo dogu na. Choka mkpọ ọzọ.
Mba, arubem. But you know, aro dị nnọọ mma. Aro dị m mma. Aro dị onye ọbụla mma. We thank God. Anyị na-ekene nnọọ Chineke. You know. Mgbe ọbụla anyị bata nnọọ ka anyị kpaa nkata like this, obi na-adị m mma, honestly, because just conversations like this with your people, you know, talking about problems, challenges, face, or whatever, or maybe celebrating some of the victories, are not very important because one, it creates the bond, the togetherness, anyway. Gives us opportunity to interact to meet and connect with more people, share ideas and wisdom. You know, I apply in some cases to our personal life and our surroundings, our communities around us for the enhancement of the Igbo ideology, the most important thing. So again, another interesting conversation. Otisiku is just a carry on from the last conversation I went last week. Because we needed to address that Ohanaeze. We needed to understand a lot more about roles, Hanidi play, roles that they've played, they continue to play, and how they can enhance those collective responsibilities, again, for the betterment of Ndibo. So I think this will be an interesting one, so I'm looking forward to it. Kaina Ganeu.
Dalo, my brother. Dalo Rene. All right. I will if I get me back now. I get me zero menana. Ke batalo na show anon ke ba get if I any. Sula participate here. Share the space. Ibatakwanara, share the space. Let others know that we are on. The show is live. At this moment, we are live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. So that is not on Twitter that would like to join this conversation, at least listen to this conversation, you just take them to the YouTube. Our YouTube is on our bio actually. Kunye media, Kunye/media. Sorry, Kunye hash. Dash media. Kunye-media, but our channel on YouTube. Once they go there, they will find us live. On Facebook also, Kunye Media Official. You can always find us there and listen to the conversation if you're not on Twitter. Very soon, we'll be able to introduce a way to bring people into the conversation who are not on Twitter by phone lines and stuff like that. Because we need to expand this conversation and be able to reach much more people. Like I said before, because share the space. Go over the Maluna, not remember. How you find them now? Anya Batago. Let's dive in. This is a very hot conversation. This is a very interesting conversation. Building collective strength. ISU, that means Igbo State Union, Ohanaeze, and others. I had to use others because then we were other groups. Obulota kandibo mekobale fono. Obulota kandibo jobalo ganiru, but the guy mebelifa. Because we are progressive people. Naturally, we always want to progress, no matter what. I know the game mebelia since the 40s, or even today, since the 40s, came a believer. I'm sure many of you are not going to Igbo State Union. Some people just woke up one day and realized and said, you know what? We can't continue like this. We have to grow. We have to improve. This was a post-colonial era. Before Yokubedo independence came, if I remember. You know, I said, if I can see where Bidogudi, Yelondi, Waka, I can demand the Abundi Jegola, when the Jelao Konoge, when the Gen Obodo Ibo, the US, UK, do to Aziki with them. So if I say, if I get medical, the binding week, he move very fast. Now, I need to make progress. And they gathered together, started building themselves together, especially people like Azikiwe. You know, even though they were interested in Nigeria's development, Nigeria's independence, they understood the importance of Ndi Igbo, the importance of Ichekwa Ndi Igbo, the importance of advancing Ndi Igbo. Because when we're a different system, that is the regional system, right? Where we have different regions governed by their people, managing their economy, managing everything else, except maybe security. And it worked at that time. But one of the reasons why it worked for us the way it did was because what are the importance of Igwebike? What are the importance of collaboration? What are the importance of the collective, the power of the collective? People like Akadu Ibiam, Ferika, people like Osadebe, you know, and they came together and said, let's start something. You know, I think they called it something like Igbo Federal Union or something like that in the beginning. Well, I go different names, yeah. Ebido, ISU. And it was a social-political union, really. And that was the system, that was the structure that created everything I'm well in Igbo from 1954 till 1966. They built a proper structure where blueprints for economy, where blueprints for politics, where blueprints for our social infrastructure, our social life, how to develop us, how to move us forward. These were young people in their 20s and early 30s. No, young people just like us. I think it was only Azikiwe that was in his 40s at that time, or 30s. The rest were in their 20s, you know. A few others were in their 30s too. And these guys came together and decided to work, and they went to work. That's how we produced the likes of M.I. Opara. But he wasn't the only one. There's a Bono Ejike, there are a lot of them. Ufana brought in the Iga Ondi, but man on Eastern Nigeria. Because according to our history, Eastern Nigeria bros just for India and Ondibo now. And when they're on other places, but India and Fabros Indibo. You know, and I think that really set the foundation, the pace for everything I Buketa. From the side of education to the side of agriculture, to the side of economy generally, and then the politics, leadership that built the fabric of our society. Even though I am a lot of things, not why if it and only for somebody who one day, and one of the reasons why we're struggling today is because we lost the best of us in the war, or the possible way. And what are many statistics? I haven't seen any research on it, but naturally you would think that was possible because so a lot of them actually died in the war. These were the brave, smart, intelligent, bold, and courageous people, you know. So our message is I say, okay, Ohanaeze, you know, so the guy may believe I was surprised when I realized that Ohanaeze has been around since the 70s, over almost 50 years. Mana, what is the na Ohanaeze teaching and cause I haven't been able to see if it's long cause when you look at all of Fanalo. And in Ohanaeze has socio-cultural group, while this one is socio-political. So I just go with some questions. Some people say na akandi na chiachi, especially in the military. Na kafa de kwaniao na gwalondi ana pachoro zefa no. Ke meyalia so maybe nka asa nka we bido disi. So if anyone wonder say okay, anya be go na ochichi democracy now. So anya kwesiro ze no na nka wan no. Can't we go back to what made us who we are? So I say kai bia no kai be ne anya kai bia ne na anya malu monwe fa ge ne n'ime Ohanaeze ndị Igbo a. Mara ife ndị Ohanaeze ndị Igbo na-eme. Marakwana why anyị nwere ike ime achieve the same thing that was done in the 50s and the 60s. So ọ bụrụ na ọ bụ onye n'ebe a bụ onye Ohanaeze ndị Igbo, ma Ohanaeze ndị Igbo nke elders, ma Ohanaeze ndị Igbo nke youth, biko request the mic and join us in this conversation. Ka anyị na-gị kalịa. Ọ bụkwa na onye ma nọ na Twitter bụ onye Ohanaeze youth, biko kpọtụrụ onye a si abịa join anyị na this conversation. Ka anyị kpaa nkata. Ka anyị malụ ka anyị ga-esi wee nene ife anụnwa. Malụkwana ife anyị ga-eme about it because I need to move forward. And ọ nwere ajụjụ ndị anyị ga-ajụgasị because ndị be anyị bụkwa ndị na-ajụ ajụjụ. Maka na onye ajụjụ bụ onye na-aghọta. Onye ajụrụ ajụjụ ga-ajụ kwụrụ n'akụ na-enu n'anya, you know. So if anyị nọ ya today, ajụjụ mụnwa na-ajụgodi kịta bụ kedu ife melụ ndị Ohanaeze ji wee rapụ the blueprints and those plans ndị Igbo State Union use, and what is their own vision? They have their own blueprints. Because anyị nwabụ ndị Igbo amarọ, anyị nwabụ ụmụ Igbo amarọ. So onwe n'ebe ya kọọ nwụla anyị ife bụ vision ndị Ohanaeze ndị Igbo maka ala Igbo. All these economic plans. Can I be with politics? Can they have their vision for our politics on how to deliver good governance for us? Obono onye ma biko ya tinye ọnụ gwa anyị. Ka anyị bido with ndị Jamaica. Kesi tinye ọnụ kwa ka anyị move to okay.
You can like him he kwuru maka iwete where did what the objective is about. Amobru na henwe ka enwe kitu anya aka ka anyị ga agụkwa more ọ ga-adịkwa very good. You understand? Ka anyị mmadụ after this conversation onwe ike get go to more because I don't sometimes the thing make confusion self.
Yeah, honestly, I did not very important or something I need to address it as Igbo people because I didn't know Ohanaeze but no a very core aspect of our socio-political existence as in the Igbo. Questions are in more. I want questions introduce myself because I did not mark in with the answers directly from a part of that organization. And so go on the meetings, the conversations, come know when vision how more where whatever ideology plan not progress here the Igbo people. Because yeah, you're right. I did not a lot to change go. As a matter of fact, to even Igbo people, as I'm sure the Ohanaeze as as a socio-political group or whatever I choose it where they're not as prevalent anymore, especially to the younger generation. And I for last week, Oge Uchokuroku, he spoke about the youth wing of Ohanaeze. And therefore, no, this is no can we disconnect between the organization and the Hane lead because we don't really know much. A certain aspect of people now the conversation say, well, it's all up on us. Eji chota information. Eji na ajuju. Kaje I wete. I didn't show information about Ohanaeze, then register, become members and all of that. But at the end of the day, you realize that it's not up to us. It's up to the organization to expand membership, to seek out for more people, to tell us more about what their goals and visions are, so that by virtue of that, we can decide to participate and become a member and become members. But back to the point, though, I feel, honestly, that they've deviated a lot, especially maybe all the generational change or maybe the political landscape I went in Nigeria. A lot has created that change. But in him feel, post Civil War, the way Nigeria and other people, other regions in Nigeria and ND changed a lot, and you could see that, we can go back to after Agri-ONC and the coup and all of that, after the ban of the first concept of, Igbo gatherings and any political gathering that has to do with Igbo. And then years after that, the Ohanaeze concept came to be. And slowly and gradually, we began to collect ourselves together. Can I remember anything I get put together to help hold us, unify us as a group, and then forge our interests forward. But I think that concept has been lost over time because Odisi Enoka, the people in control of the Ohanaeze, actually, but the people who are also in politics, Odisi Enoka, on the top realm of affairs, a lot of the people they in charge are tied mainly to the political space and then it limits the opportunity for those people for the actual interest of the common Igbo person. So you can't really speak for us if you're not directly connected to the concerns and the challenges as in Igbo, even as very common people. So that in itself poses a challenge. But then, as a people, know our own side of the blame, right? I feel we're our own side of the blame because it's really up to us at every point in time. It didn't hold these people accountable. As you join today, we could have asked these questions 5 years ago. We could have asked it 10 years ago, right? We could have actually led that confrontation in making certain changes. Why didn't that work? Why? Why is it not working? Why are you people not representing us in the way that we want to? And what do we need to do? But again, the best time to plant an oak tree could have been 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So as you join it's very important because we need to start structuring some of those things, those changes I need, especially from that political landscape. We need to start asking those questions now. So when certain things need equal, but I just want to see when somebody directly involved, Nadia Ohanaeze, if I know equate certain things, tell us a little bit about the organization, what they intend to do. Can I know from a very, very from an insider's perspective, what their political ideology or their socio-economic ideology from the Igbo, so that from there we can begin to forge ahead. Okay, there are certain things we need to change. There are certain things we need to recommend, and Kamaro no man where plans got forge ahead. So this is probably what I'll wait for before I'll put some more thoughts to it. So back to you, Chuka.
Yeah, dialogue in the one them. Okay, I posted this thing on the Jumbotron, the YouTube channel, the YouTube link. So share the link. Just look at the Jumbotron. They got for the link there. Then they will we told on the bunu on the enigma on the for Nanya. They are about to begin this how we can join this conversation so that more people can hear us while we talk. Kaiganiru, building collective strength. It has always been a challenge for Igbo in the recent history in Igbo, maybe in the last 50 or 40 years. My friend, Naman Jakela, said, as a Joyful now, people are open. As a Memong Festival, as a born in America, as a born in the UK, if we know about Mopota, it will jelly, and I buy in the streets. a na-ese foto na-eme vidiyo ọ na-ewu ọ na-asọ mana eruzie ka asị ka eme ka edozie ife ndị Igbo ka a bịa together na nke a na-adị ka ọ na-afịa anyị arụ amụrụ m why aghọtara m ya ọfụma even though I might pretend like I do but mba ife mma ezuru so ụzọkwa na ife anyị ga na-ajụ onwe anyị ka ife o ji afịala anyị arụ ibuild collective strength and when are we going to remove that robe of individualism when it comes to ihe gbasara ndị Igbo politics especially looking at Ohanaeze enwere a few things na the structure ma ghọtara ọfụma why o ji dey like that. One of that is that I learned that Ohanaeze ndị Igbo rotates right around the states and the governors of the states have a say as to who becomes the president general. In fact, to become the president general of Ohanaeze ndị Igbo is so big a deal. Onnukwu ife ka ọ na-azụ ya to a different level. But the main thing when the governors they had a say regarding that. Another one, Bona, somebody could ever know na this show last week. Now, the states also now fund Ohanaeze ndị Igbo. This is the second issue. The third one, bụ nke m ga-ajụ amarom and achọrọ m ime research ndị ọsọ jụọ onye ọbụla gwazie m ma ndị wrong ma ndị right. Ụmụ nwaanyị nọ na Ohanaeze ndị Igbo enwere ụmụ nwaanyị na Ohanaeze ndị Igbo ka ọsọsọ ụmụ nwoke nọ ya. These are the three questions I have in mind.
Okay.
Jimmy na-ekwu.
Yes, Jimmy.
No, ngwa gaa n'ihu.
Daalụnụ ndị be anyị. Yeah, so ụmụ nwaanyị nọ n'Ohanaeze. Abụrụ m onye Ohanaeze, but from from what I see in the media, I might maybe find a meeting and, whatever. Probably I might have joined if I had more idea about, their affairs. So what you said is very correct. The truth is that Ohanaeze has not, done enough to, especially in more recent times, to bring Igbos, together, and also to have people. I think they do it intentionally. So that they will reduce the number of people who will, so that they are not involved. Why I say this is, it did not start this way. It was not always this way from my experience. I remember that because my dad was a relatively top civil servant, public servant. So I remember that they extended, at that time, it was Ben Nwabueze because he held the position of Secretary General. In short, he held the position of Secretary General of that organization for very long. Then I don't think they had anything like President General. He was the Secretary General of Ohanaeze. I think that was the topmost position. So they extended an invitation to my dad, being that also Tunandio Runoku. Or something. But my point is, as in for them to have recognized that somebody known at this position, they well educated, were input to make at that time. That means they would also have extended that sort of invitation to some other persons. That was it then in the I think late 80s. That was it at that time. So, and I do not think they do that kind of thing anymore. But that was championed by Ben Nwabueze, who was the Secretary General at that time, I think. Then Ojukwu they wanted to set up an alternative body as I think Igbo or something. They called their own. So it was, there was this, attitude of Ohanaeze to see how, although it was still the military, but they were also quite interested in seeing how they do what they could, in terms of helping the Igbo nation as a body. Then about Umuwanyi. I'm a women wing from Ifemfo na media, like this Regina's mother at a point was the I think the chairperson of the women wing or something. The Regina's mother, I think she was the chairperson of the women wing. So there is, but I think that is a more recent, creation, because originally, and with this MOB thing, which they just decide on what to do, and those MOB were, strictly men, but that's for that. Then to the other question which you asked about why Ohanaeze is now defined as socio-cultural. Now I trace that you mentioned that a bit, or maybe it was KC that mentioned that. Now the government, the bit behind that, when I talk about the government or the central government, the bit behind that. Today in Nigeria, first of all, what Obasanjo did when he became, indeed, it had already started, before then, the Murtala government, the Yakubu Gowon government that proscribed all the Yakubu Gowon government that proscribed, I think it was Yakubu Gowon or something, that proscribed all socio-political organizations, all the socio-political organizations, apart from the political parties that proscribed every other thing. So later on, they were allowed to set up, but not to register. Now, later, Obasanjo made it that you cannot, first of all, that you cannot register so now, as it stands in Nigeria, you cannot register a political party without having the members, having the people, that is the officers, cutting across all ethnic and geopolitical zones in Nigeria. I'm talking about political party, and I will relate it to what we are talking about now. Now again, apart from that, you cannot register a political party. Now I'm going to law as it is in Nigeria today, to explain why Ohanaeze is simply called a socio-cultural organization. Now, you cannot register a political party without that. And then even if you also want to work as a socio-political organization, you cannot, if you are not a political party. I don't know whether you get it. So you cannot be a socio-political organization without registering as a political party. And you cannot also register as a political party if you have sectional interests. Do you understand? Maybe you are based on a religion, you are based on ethnicity, so you cannot. So these are the laws. So in Nigeria today, so it does not apply only to Ohanaeze, but of course, Hamelia after the war, basically because of Igbos, but then it does not apply only to Ohanaeze and Igbo. Now, to the other question that was asked about how the input of the government, it was not always so. The state government did not have, that say in terms of appointing the President General and other officers of Ohanaeze, but they kept. There were issues, with election, or issues election being lead to state governors, getting involved. They had issues. I got this from the press, so I'm not a member. So maybe a member would also tell us better about this. But from what I know is that they kept having issues with each time they wanted to have elections to present a new leadership. So what now happened was that the governors now decided, I think it was during, this is pretty recent, I think it was during the 2003 era or something, that the governors, or maybe 2007 era, no, they are too far back like that. The governors now decided that Nonyobunoru state here will now have a state, because see, Ohanaeze presidency, especially, is a big deal. Do you know that the governor of Delta State gets involved? The governor of Rivers State, even though they claim they're not part of, Wike was so involved in in dragging it the other time. Even Amechi, even Okowa were so, for them to have a hold on Ohanaeze, because they know what it means politically. So it became so serious that the governors measure here in such a way that Nonyobunoru state here, you understand, especially on interest, should be the one that will now present someone from the state. So that was, I believe that should be how we got to this point. From what I these are things I gathered from media in terms of following their affairs. So now what it means is that if we have to have another organization, the registration might not, or the way it will exist might not actually state in full or that is the way Ogetim exists here in law, will not actually state in full what it will be doing, because the truth is you cannot register anything that is, unless you're going as a political party, and once you get in as a political party, it can no longer be sectional. So in terms of registration, you will have to couch it as if it is just a socio-cultural organization, do you understand, that works in the interest of, but it doesn't stop anybody from doing anything. The only thing is that you cannot be a political party. So I think that was what, and you cannot also form a political party, or you cannot also form a political party or even fund a political party formally. You understand? It is the individuals that can, even if they want to do it, they will do it as individuals. So that is how we got to where we are. Yeah. So if you're even going to have a new organization, the things we will learn from Ohanaeze Budatna, if you're ever going to have a new organization to project the interests of Ndigbo, first of all, it must be separate from government. It must, even if you're going to have a say in how governance will emerge. I don't want to call it governance. We're at all levels, at different levels, but local government. Even if you want to have a say in terms of, because you believe that this is all related to development, it will still be very, unless Iran wire for a few years, the next thing the governors will still take over, because they actually fund Ohanaeze now. They were not funding it in the days of no, they were not. Initially, they were not funding it. They were operating on their own. But when issues of funding became, a serious one, the governors got in. So, first of all, any organization that you're going to form must ensure that anything governors or politicians in there will be on, sort of like a contract. Maybe let's say that you want to do a project, or you want to do a project based an SPV, which is formed under the organization or through bodies related to the organization. It can relate with politicians, and on that basis, get funding, which will fund specific projects, but rather than funding the organization itself, because once you make it that the funding of that organization will come directly from governments, it will end up being like Ohanaeze. So I think this is the problem of Ohanaeze, and this is the cue to whatever anybody wants to do in future.
All right, Jimmy, Dalorina, this is very, very insightful. Take a breather. You will come back again to the conversation. Okay, New Niger, I'm very sorry. I think you came in first. It was Ibuzo, and I didn't follow that way. I'm sorry. We're going to do now. In Ohanaeze Ndigbo.
Ife nji ekene m onye ọbụla, onye mkpokọbe ọnọdụ a ekene gị nne, maka na ọ dịrị ofecha nke mmadụ iwepụta oge mgbe ọbụla ị kwesịrị ịkpọ oku, ịmapụta kpọ oku. Onye ọbụla bụ onye Igbo, mmasị na ma nọrọ n'Ọhanaeze, mana enwere ike ọ bụrụ na ma bụrụ onye na-ejekebe ezu mkpọkọba, maọbụ onye na-atọ ụtọ tụchie anya, mana enego m anya chọọ ka o nwere onye na-esofa mara ife na-aga ebe afọ ọfụma. O nwere onye wenere aka, o nwere onye kwuru okwu, dịka ụka anyị nọtagoro ruo kịta. Nwesị ka ntụnye oke mma, maka na ife izizi m chọrọ ikwu bụ ka m si ghọta bụ na onye ọbụla bụ onye Igbo, onye ọbụla na-asụ asụsụ Igbo, ma nwoke ma nwaanyị, gafegoro ọnọdụ ọ na-aza nwa nna nwegoro be nwee ife ọ na-eme ebe ọ bụla ị nọ n'ụwa, ịbụ onye Ohanaeze ndị Igbo. Ka m si ghọta, o nwere onye chọrọ iso, ma ndị nọ n'ụlọ ma ndị nọ n'ofesi, a na-achụpụ achụpụ. Ọ ndị afọ na-eje mgbakọ na-anọ mgbe a na-agba izu, na-anọ mgbe a na-arọpụta, oge a na-arọpụta ndị ọchịchị fa, ije kpọwa dịka ndị gboo, ma Nwabueze ma Kanibia ma Zik na ndị ọzọ ọ dị mma ịdị na-ekwu etu ahụ, mana uche m bụ na a ga na-atinye uchu n'ịkpọsị afa ndị kịta, maka ndị kịta nụ ebe a na-akpọ afa ndị welitere isi, ndị megolo omume dị mma, ndị megolo ife ụfọdụ a na-arụ aka nọọ ife na-aga n'iru, ọ ga-enye ha nnabata, ọ ga-enye ha ndọbata ịdị na-eso n'okwu a na-ekwu. Mana onye tinye ntị ọ bụrụ sọsọ ndị gboo ma ndị nwụchigo ọnụ, ha dị mkpa o, mana mmụọ m na-asị m na ndị Igbo ebe ọ bụla anyị nọ ka anyị na-achọ afa ndị kịta ndị ka dị ndụ eriri nne mma akpọwa meji aka m kpọwa afafa. Na ife gbasalụ ndị na-achị steeti ji bụrụ ndị ọ dị ka ọfanwa na-ekwu ife na-eme bụ inu ndị Igbo si na onye na-akpọ onye ogbu ọja, onye na-akwụ ụgwọ na-akọgharị ya ụdị ọja ọ ga-egbu, na-akọgharị ya onu ọ ga-akpọ. Ndị oyibo na-asị who calls the piper dictates the tune. Ọ bụ na ka anyị ra ebe a na wee kpọọ ya okwu na anyị nche ebe anyị nọ ga-eje chọba ebe Ohanaeze nọ banyesie n'ofu n'ofu, erira na nne eburu ndị nwere ofu obi ga-akpọ ekwubezi okwu etu ife ga-esiga. Ọ bụrụ onye nọpụrụ anọpụ like kịta anyị nọ n'izu a na-ekwu okwu, onye ọbụla na-anọrọ ebe a ma onye wenere aka ma onye ekwuru okwu sọsọ gere ntị ama m ife dị ya n'obi ya, na ana m achọ ịkọwa na Ohanaeze maka onye ọbụla bụ onye isi obodo bụ ndị Igbo. Nke ọzọ ga-enyekwa aka bụ ama m na ọ na-afịa anyị arụ ịsụ asụsụ anyị, ọ bụrụ ife dị fecha fecha, mana ọ ga-enye aka maka na o nwere ndị na-abụrọ ndị Igbo ka ndị Igbo asụ asụsụ Igbo, dịka n'ime ndị Igbo ụfọdụ na-asụ ezigbote asụsụ ndị obodo ndị ọzọ. Ohanaeze ndị Igbo abụrụ sọsọ steeti 5 akpọrọ n'ime ndị Igbo, o tinyelu ndị ọzọ ma Rivers ma Delta ọ ka erie nne agbakọ mamịrị ọnụ ka ọgba ụfụfụ ya, na ụmụ nwaanyị dị ya, ụmụ nwoke dị ya, o nwere onye arọpụrụ arọpụ, mana ndị bịara izu bụ ndị ga-etinye ọnụ n'okwu mgbe a ga-ewe ntụli aka na ndị ga-achị, na ndị bịara izu ndị na-atụta ego. Ọ bụrụ na anyị nwa bụ ndị na-emesi ife dị iche iche pụta kịta si na anyị ga-ewere ego anyị tinye na ya, atinye ofu na ibu ọ na-ewe agbakọ ọnụ achụpụ ndị gọvanọ, maka gọvanọ abụrụ ofu onye gọvanọ arọ ịnọ niile eweta onye ọzọ. So ebe a ka m ga-ekwudewegodu na mgbe a na-aga n'iru onwe ihe ọzọ a ga-etinye, onwero ndị na-abụrụ ndị Ohanaeze ma nwoke ma nwaanyị n'ọrụ onwe ya ka m si ghọta. Nke ikpeazụ bụ ihe gbasara histrị. Adịrọ m ka o nwere onye ọbụla si ndị Igbo ebido na-ekụziwe ihe gbasara histrị, ya bụ akụkọ gboo, akụkọ niile metụtara ndị Igbo. Ọ bụrụ ndị amị kwuye, ndị befa, ndị Yoruba, ndị Hausa ka na-akụzi histrị. Gịnị mere na ndị Igbo ama ebido n'ime onwe anyị kpọọ ya ife, kụzibere ụmụ anyị ihe gbasara ihe gara aga metụtara ndị Igbo? Ya bụ nọ ịrụ aka n'ife tere aka, were aka ịtọ na-arụ n'obi anyị ka m fụ n'ihe a. Ọ dịgodi m etu a.
Daalụ nne Maazị Oke, onye okenye ka m nụrụ. Ndewo. Ka esi ịnụgoni ya na ịbụ onye Ohanaeze. Jim ịnụgoni ya na ịnọ na Ohanaeze. Priscilla, nwada, ịbụgoni ya na ịnọ na wing ụmụ nwaanyị, ị na-agba na wing ụmụ nwaanyị. Ọ dị egwu. Ịma na ya ndị be anyị sị na onye a na-ekwu maka ya nwere ife ọ na-eme. Ife a bụ ife mere anyị ji wee bụrụ ife anyị bụ today. And e nwere oge ndị Igbo ndị a na-echi echi n'ala Igbo n'oge anwa abụrụ based on ego onefe akpatara, jeep onefe a na-agba, or the onefe alụ na village. Mba, all contributions fanyelu to the society, the things they are doing or the achievements fanwegolu that brings pride to their roots. Or the two are not Chino Mandadia, Oya, Mayor Delowa is an example. Chino Achebe, a chair and kia. But I can do say before because that's the value, that's the culture of Ndibo. But can I iso ito onye na-eme ọfụma bunye enu onye ọbụla afụ ya ọgụa ndị ọzọ agụụ ka famekwa ka onye anwa si eme. Then ndị nke anwa soro kwa mekwa ka onye anwa si mee etokwafa. So all part of our culture. Do na kita azi onye ọbụla chọzi inwe echichi na-echi ya na. Ebro ka esi bido si afụ mkpọ ka esi odogwu ọjụ na ya maazị odogwu. Odogwu just bụkwa nwoke nọ n'ụlọ nwoke nọ na-emekwa na ọ bụ nwoke mekwa ka o si wee bụrụ nwoke nwee ezinụlọ ọkwa ife bụ odogwu nwekwa ife ọzọ dịrọ ọ bụrụ ichie ịghọtago mana ọ ife anyị ji wee na-ekwu maka ndị anụnwa ọ example ka anyị na cite because ọkwa part of history anụ wee na-ekwu maka ya we have to always remember where we picked what we're doing from so that we can understand where the disconnect happened. I wish I had the chance, and if I get the chance, I will do that. If I get the chance, we will organize and see if we can have an interview with former Onyeisi ndị Ohanaeze, or the current one now. Ọ bụ na enwere nke ka dị ndụ ndị nọ na past. Anyị na-akpa nkata kpagoro nkata maka Ohanaeze maka ife their struggle or their efforts and the challenges. Ka anyị ghọta because I think the problem here, one of the problems here is communication. Oge gboo ndị elder na-akpa nkata ha kpasịa nkata ife ha ga-eme fakpọ ndị ụmụ okolobịa the young people ziefe ozi ife fama ga-eme mana otu Nigeria dị and if anyị na-achọ na Nigeria will require much more than that. It will require ụdị ife na-eme n'obodo kịta anụwa require and the young people be involved completely. In fact, we are supposed to be the foot soldiers while the experienced, connected, skilled, wise elders give direction, advice and support. That's how I see it. Makana obu na ichoro ka enwe total holistic development na Igbo. Politics must be in the hands of the people. Power must belong to the people. And power cannot belong to the people if the people are not directly involved in ways to awaken themselves and also decide who will represent them in the seat of government. This is the area I can see a problem because I don't know about development plans. Kali. But I'm going to call us now when we're about losing like this or what does it feel like Daniel? What does it feel like guys? Or the can Professor Osita Obu have finished in 2020. Up till now, what if I forgot about it? He said that he submitted it to the President General at that time. I can't remember who. Mana, he submitted it. I don't think it was the late Iwanyanwu or the one before him. But even the late Iwanyanwu, he said that he has been waiting for him to give approval because they commissioned the project, but nothing has happened. That means there are some things we don't know, political maneuvers going on. And what it was, because whatever that stands in the way of such huge developmental projects must be something political. So the reason is because there are enough people involved. I mean, the stakeholders in Igbo involved who can ask questions. Anything that is a form of governance, anything that assumes a form of governance, for it to perform well, it must be held to account. No matter the age, no matter the status, no matter the strata, it must be held to account. Because if it's not held to account, it does whatever it likes. So if I know not because Tanya Chore my but because it looks like there's a way the information is managed. There's a inner circles. I want to find them here. Like when Uche number person came here last week, we asked him some questions. So I said, most of these things be fair, and I want to direct him from the top. Now I haven't much decisions to make on that. The same thing I do now. So if I do these questions, I know here. So let's continue this conversation. About Ohanaeze, you can help us to explain and tell us why and when the key move to that side.
Yeah. And here we add no chuka, bro. We're trying to know Ohanaeze. This is not evident now. One on here for direct member. I ain't telling we're not in direct membership by virtue of ISU. But we can also look at it from an outsider's lens. Can I say no? Okay, we try to see for the organization, and in high channel the organization, and in how suppose able, and when alignment, care some disparities I now for lenses I journey on when certain things I feel honey change on when certain things I feel na honey they improve on more care our own perspective or in honey to actually make it more efficient because all you have but not the disconnect. I know for Uche Kwoko last week and I pointed some challenges, especially from a capital standpoint. Did not contribute ego and things like that. But put that aside, you remove go to that one. Each of us get our opinions on especially in this modern day and time. One of the issues I raised the last time, Ohanaeze were youth wing, but and weren't any connection to the youth. They don't even have a social media account, which is easily one of the best ways to connect with people. So actually, in our touch on some of those things. Okay, let's point out some of these things. Mauzi and Norma, is there any things we can actually bring up as suggestions to improve it? So that by the next time, I was here somebody who a full-blown member of the organization. I'm okay. There's certain things I were in terms of discussions that we had in the past, and these are some of the problems I highlighted. Then Kezi, Otunu Wiki, you see address some of those concerns. Whatever, Neje.
Hey, Zoku. I'm totally in agreement with you, and this is how we're supposed to go in this conversation. Actually, since I am one day. Water if I not water. Can you if I not twanya from Ohanaeze and Igbo so that we can be part of this thing and really bring in whatever we can offer. I mean, I go to go fund the bondi obedient, but I go to go and I get no one something get change the government. I go to gear. Iga mazi obuna enwe nke the organized. Bunken the buying kind, kind. Obura about party is about having a process, having some kind of way idea choose and then hold accountable. This is the most important part. Being able to hold them accountable. So request the mic and join us if you want to be part of this conversation. Once again, this is 1 minute past 9. We have 2 more hours to go. This is the MONI show. Maka Dimandibo. Eba na pankata maka efe organiru ndibo. And I go far. So I say whoever no one. I will rule in this conversation. When you come in, you mute your mic and when your time comes, you go straight to the points. Don't distract us from the conversation. Stick to the conversation. Avoid a noisy environment. The last one, respect yourself and respect the audience. Like an able civilized people. So, onye choliti yono no kwa noa mena keri feature. What do we expect from what case is saying? What do you expect from Ohanaeze? What do you think we should do or they can do to make this thing more effective, more efficient? Do you think there's a need for reform or restructure of the organization? Or do you think that it needs to support ones for younger ones or any separation from youth and elders in a way that the youth one is almost independent? What do you think? What's your opinion about it?
So, regarding Ohanaeze Ndigbo, I remember I brought up this conversation in our last meeting.
Yes,
and I emphasized on the importance of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, owing to the contributions they've made, decades past, after the war, and the onus they owe to the general Igbo populace across the geopolitical region, because the Igbos as an ethnic group is scattered across 13 states in the country, and I believe that the southeast or the borders of the southeast should not barricade other Igbo people from enjoying or having a say in what affects the Igbo people as a people and as an ethnic group. Now, last week, someone made mention of political awareness, and I think sometime this afternoon, on your timeline, you posted a recording that captured a voice that was giving us a breakdown of how there's been political apathy, among Igbo. I'm going to say Igbo, and particularly to the southeast. He also made mention of the 1983 elections, the 2003 elections, and subsequent elections that has occurred in the past, prior to 2015, and how Indigo were heavily contributory to the electoral process, the presidential electoral process. Now, thank you. I want to first of all thank one of our brothers here that gave a detailed explanation as to some constraints that Ohanaeze are facing, and also said that they cannot fully come out as a political group except they are registered as a political party. You understand? To avoid sectionalism and the rest. But we all know that where two people are gathered, just two, politics is involved. Once two people are gathered in a particular place, socially, then politics is involved. So Indigo, as a people, must be political conscious, because the political decisions of the society would directly or indirectly affect every Igbo person. Either you are in this country, or you are beyond the borders of this country. So we must try to raise political awareness. I identify this as a very critical problem that we face as Indigo. Now, having identified this problem, I have few suggestions. Now,
you have 60 seconds more.
All right. I have few suggestions. Number one, now, recently, when I say recently, let's say last 5 years, there have been a lot of Igbo hangouts that has been happening in Nigeria, and across in Europe, in Asia. Now, this Igbo hangout is a social event. I believe that in this hangout, you have a lot of Igbo youth from the age of 18 to even 50. They are there. Now, these people are quite disconnected from they have kind of low political consciousness or voters apathy when it concerns Indigo. We can take advantage of this hangouts, this event, to speak to the political consciousness of every Igbo person, to make them know that they have to get involved in the political process that concerns Indigo. Now, that way, we are going to be reaching out to different youths of Indigo across the world. The last Igbo hangout that happened in Lagos, we had over 5,000 Igbo youths, Igbo people that were there. Now, imagine that kind of event where we now take our time. Maybe a person come up and start, just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, talk about the need of us getting connected with politics or the political process that involves Indigo. Now, that is one. Now, secondly, is to make use of social media. We have to take serious advantage of the social media. We need to start seeing social media as a tool and not a playground or a place where we come and we get access to any information. We need to start seeing social media as a tool. So the youth wing of Ohanaeze Indigo need to start taking social media very seriously. They have to open social media pages, social media accounts, and they need to start using that social media platform to speak to Igbos, most especially the Igbo youth. Now, that way, we are going to be reaching out to the heart of Indigo, particularly for people that are within the age of 18, that have attained the age to vote, from the age of 18 to 50. Now, if you can do it, imagine what the result we are going to achieve in the next 10 years. Do you understand? The next 10 years.
Yes, I agree.
We are going to achieve. You understand? Thank you.
Nico, hang in there. You definitely come back. I like how you're taking this to practical direction and all the very important. Uchenna, can you feel like we see open and Ohanaeze now? Imagine that elders not Ohanaeze again. What do you want to tell them?
Yeah, on the connection issues.
Okay. I move. I like what Mena said, and this has been mentioned before. Social media. I would even like to add to that and say that such a group needs a formidable media team, not just social media, but media team. There should be efforts towards having a system that brings out information regularly, speaking to Ndibo and listening to Ndibo at the same time, creating forums, where there are communications, there are conversations beyond Igbo unions or the different town union meetings. I mean, things not addressing Ndibo, where that connection can be had. And when things like conferences, or just in Ndimo be no, where people like you and I can attend and listen to them, share this is where we're going. If actually or if any can share with us, of course, there are some things that are supposed to be classified. These are our strategies. This is how we're going. And then in that forum, in that opportunity, and get from the young people. These are the things we think we can do. And then open all the possible stuff and where avenue for them to receive beautiful ideas from young people. And where the website for Ohanaeze Ndibo? I haven't found any. I think I never want information regularly or anything like so. Any the serious effort towards full-scale media effort, media team. I think that can help. And I'm experts can young people be part of this, not just saying Ohanaeze Youth, because even Ohanaeze Youth, like Casey rightly pointed, doesn't have a social media platform. Okay, Uchenna hasn't been able to come back. I'm waiting for you to request again. If you want to join this conversation, please quickly request the mic so you can be part of it. Kai Alebuna, also the host and the co-host, Apankata. Chukwemeka Alexander. Ndewo, can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can.
Ganiru?
Yes, because I just stumbled upon this thing page right now, and I am very, very happy to be here because as Mwafomo, I actually reside in Abuja, and listening to the few people I heard before you added me on, I'm very, very happy. In fact, I'm very, very happy in this line of conversation. Because I wouldn't lie to you, Ohanaeze Ndibo to a reasonable extent since Njimala. I think the last Ohanaeze Ndibo made active very well when he was in Niamodo and co. You understand? And Kainefu in the wider entity called Nigeria. Kainefu immensely. You understand? Because ihe jimara anyị nwe Igbo of old enwe ihe jimara anyị, and ihe jimara anyị as a student of history, most people did not know the reason why we even went to war in the first place. Most people are amaro. Most people actually most people is that maybe the Bubendi Igbo n'ugwu Hausa. Most of our children kitama just that anụrụ agha. Most people amaro ihe kpatara agha. Most people amadi ihe lead rito eji wee bube ndị Igbo na not metamorphosized into the war. In fact, myself as an adult up to today, it was just I think 2 years ago, Kamma, that there was a town hall referendum that actually led to Ojukwu declaring that war. Most people felt he just came back and declared the war. You understand? So I had very, very happy that now I was something like this. Something like this, that if we can actually use the same momentum, we would use it and educate our people so that, like the kind of things in Emena East right now.
Yeah, one day, if you don't mind, can you okay, feel na Ohanaeze, if you don't hear the miss in Ohanaeze, but I go on wegi. And be massive join Ohanaeze. For you personally, if you feel never see him in Ohanaeze as organization, what do you think?
Now, number one, you are the point here out that there have been like a sectional thing, like Ohanaeze Adibero universal, like for the entire Igbo, for every Igbo man. You understand? Odibero universal for the entire Igbo man. Otro Ohanaeze and Igbo Hemebereka they have not probably assimilated our various local meetings into Ohanaeze. You understand? Okay, let me give you an instance. Like where Igbo meetings, community meetings, na maybe different states, maybe Ndi Igbo Lagos, and we're meeting her. Don't you think now Ohanaeze Ndi Igbo suppose maybe Igbo general meeting na Lagos, yeah, and where a time that those Igbo general meetings will be assimilated to Ohanaeze Ndi Igbo Lagos, Ohanaeze Ndi Igbo Aba, that's Abia, Ohanaeze Ndi Igbo. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That's taking it down to the grassroots.
Thank you for that. I can see your point clearly. And more, this is why we're having this conversation, so that town union meeting, because some people came here last time and said that Ohanaeze, they were involved in town union meetings. You know, for the Ohanaeze from their town union meetings, but when from his own town union meeting. So okay, I got around enough for what I can see. So, but that suggestion is important. Plugging fully into that will definitely make a difference in terms of grassroots spread. And also that connection, that interaction between the grassroots and Ohanaeze itself. Like I said, in this it needs to be opened. I believe that. Now, Uchenna is back. Yeah, Priscilla.
Okay, Batram Nuchim, so far. I am no longer this space for over an hour and you webele onye si no nime Ohanaeze. Nime Ohanaeze. Na lekwe hene meni lekwe. Oh, mostly speculations mobundi sinezi na-ekwu. So, is that not a cause for concern? Is that not evident of a gap? Na ife obla na-eme. I don't know, but kamela anya onwere on the speaker session mobu onye none at the listener session Bonyo Ohanaeze, maybe he's listening to he or she is listening to one or two things before Yabata. But Mobruni won Nime Ohanaeze, in my Hene many more Ohanaeze. Would love to hear from you, please.
Dalo. All right, Uchenna, go for it until you have enough quietness. Because this is part of our ground rules. If you want to speak, make sure that you are in a quiet environment so that the noise in your background doesn't interrupt what we're doing. Because you may not know how loud your background is until another person listens with the earpiece. So if the course is not clear, keep your mic on mute and let others speak. Then when it's clear, better. Orlando, one them, they will.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, Orlando, let's have Uche. Uche, now, all right. Go for it.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Initially, I was using Bluetooth to connect.
Ganiru, because I was 4 minutes.
Okay. So, it sounds so harsh, but in my own opinion, I overhaul Ohanaeze entirely because now, from Ajujoma as you who are Bezier, Anudurum Ife of Ohanaeze achieve Ndi Igbo before. And then secondly, Amarom Kamesu Ngwan akuna nifende kubikono.
Digo manam ifria ngwa just walonwa yo na onugi na tonugi. I get kwa respect no elders kafabo. Kaniro.
Okay. So ndị Igbo kwuye na asọkata okenye anyị kpulu nkata n'iru gwe eziokwu. Mụ anụtube. Ife nna da afọ bụ enwele ife ọbụla a na-eme against ndị Igbo. Ọ bụ na ndị Igbo bido agitate ba na-asị na afa achọrịa before anọkatazie bịa nụọ statement anyị asị na Ohanaeze issuego statement na ndị Igbo achọrọ the thing. Meanwhile, fawa bụ ndị kwesị ibu ụzọ flaunt themselves na such thing. Now, oge ọbụla a na-ekwu okwu Ohanaeze ọ na-atọ m ụtọ because na Ohanaeze bụ something ndị Igbo kwesị ị na-ekwu okwu ya every now and then ka e wee dozie ya because anyị ga-ebidogodi there. I need ịyasa Ohanaeze bido n'isi wee mebe this thing. I suggest go something. Eziokwu na asị na Ohanaeze is a social cultural group, but enwe ka culture ndị mmadụ si transcend into their economic lifestyle. Asigo even ife dịka ịgba boy eji malụ ndị Igbo. Ohanaeze ndị Igbo kwesịrị ịbụ mediators. Fọnwa bụ ndị kwesịrị mmadụ chọọ ịkpọrọ nwa boy o contact onweta onye ọ chọrọ ịkpọlụ parent the person na ọ gachọrọ ịkpọlụ nwa abọyị emiti Ohanaeze ndị Igbo anọ wee mee the agreement enwezie ka esi nwee nsogbu n'ụzọ enwelu ndị ga-investigate this thing amalụ onye dara iwu malụ onye mejọrọ ibie malụ ka esi wee dozie anya ya atọ n'iri ji ibunu ji nwa a na-eri sef afụbe m nke ndị Ohanaeze organized for the entire ndị Igbo ka Ohanaeze bụ social cultural group ndị Igbo ya esi wee na-anata funding from state governors the other way around Ohanaeze ndị Igbo kwesịrị na each state determine onye ya abụ governor of that state Ohanaeze kwesịrị ịbụ ndị ya na-determine onye ya achịnụ ọ bụghị dị n'ọfọ anwa ya na-determine onye ya abụ the president general of Ohanaeze ndị Igbo. So everything a na-eme na Ohanaeze ndị Igbo bụ most of the people na-afụ na-defend Ohanaeze bụ people na-feel that they are closer to occupying a seat of power in Ohanaeze ndị Igbo. So ikwute okwu ya they defend where somehow because na fe elubego watch all of them. So ife ji ndị Igbo eme na Nigeria adịgo too much. We need a body. Ohanaeze ndị Igbo kwesịzi there was military interference in the creation of Ohanaeze ndị Igbo and the activities, but now anyị nọ na democracy. Fa kwesịzi ịbụ a pressure group. Ọbọzụ ụmụ ihe a na-akọ anyị atọji ị na-agba egwu Igbo hangout nke Igbo hangout nke ọzọ kedu economic activities fa na-eme ka ana Igbo dị mma kedu any welfare afunurom so ife na bụ na as at 4 years ago wee bido wee nụba na-enwekwa Ohanaeze youth wing ịnụkata na-anụ conflicting statements ndị nke apụta ekwuo ndị ọzọ apụtakwa kwuo ọ maka na enwe benefit ndị nọ na that place na-enwe mere eji enwe those conflicts. Ọ bụ na this thing bụ selfless service ka ndị bịa irenda like as volunteers ama na-enwe such things. So achọrọ m ka onye ọbụla ama maka Ohanaeze zagodi m ajụjụ a in case ọbụla m na-eme mistake si gwa kenu m ofu ihe ndị Ohanaeze ndị Igbo achieve goro. Then secondly achọrọ m ịma ma na-akwụ those people na ego ọnwa call free service kafa na-ere ndalụ ndị Igbo. Thank you.
Obi jogo yo. Ọ ka na-agbasa egwu. Well, as na onye na-agbakwa mbọ gị kwa oge ga-eju nwe aṅụrị ịghọtago na emekwa nke dị serious emekwa nke egwuregwu because nke egwuregwu nkwa ife ọ na-ewetala anyị. You know, I have heard a friend of mine, he's even here, tell me, you know, we were talking about Igbo Hangout and we were looking at the economic side of it, what we can actually build from that, you know, and it became clear to me that this is actually something that has a lot of potency. You know, it can actually bring so much to ndị Igbo, economically and also socially. So ka a na-agbakwa egwu anwa, a na-akpakwa ego, a na-agbakọnatakwa ndị mmadụ. At some point, ekwubezi okwu maka ọganiru ndị Igbo in a serious manner. So o nwekwa ka o si ịma na ife ọbụla na-eme with ndị youth. Nọkata itinye some fun ya ka wee mefe attract. Maka na ọka anyị dịkịta na ọka youth dịkịta. Ọ bụrụ mmelụ ụwa mana ọka ọ dị. So gbadoro ka gaa n'iru. Orlando ngwanụnụ. What do you think we should be doing about this now? What do you think Ohanaeze should be doing, and what do you think we should be doing to even help Ohanaeze as young Igbos?
Thank you very much, my brother, and I wish to also congratulate you for driving it this far, you and your team. Ohanaeze ndị Igbo, like we all have said, or most of us have said, it's a socio-cultural organization, so there are limitations also to that name. Somebody has also put up that explanation, earlier on. But there are certain things, obviously, even in the small or within their scope, that they have not really done well. And I think there's a whole large room for improvement. For instance, Ohanaeze is expected to have a strategic vision and leadership, from the tussle of, from the rotational issue they had, the tussle of with the people from the Niger Delta and rivers, would they be part of Ohanaeze, or can they become presidents of Ohanaeze, so that's a major issue. That needs to be sorted out quickly, because the election for Ohanaeze's presidency will be coming in by January next year, and we just have a few months to go. So it needs to be sorted out quickly, for that to be established, So engaging the youth and making Ohanaeze an inclusive body is very key, because the youth that we are crying today, that most of them don't have an idea of what Igbo, being an Igbo person is, or our culture. These youths, most of them have been left out. You didn't bother about teaching them through having this, having a proper curriculum that gives you history and it's like in the academy, and you are expecting them to get knowledge of the past so that they can behave themselves and also understand how to move forward to the future. So there's a gap there. Ohanaeze can actually do a lot by bringing in youths that are interested, in managing certain aspects of components that make up Ohanaeze. The Igbo professionals, the entrepreneurs, the activists, they can integrate these people for proper decision making that will be holistic, in nature. But in the economy, the Ohanaeze also can drive economic ideas. There was a time I got involved in some of these things, and I brought up ideas of Igbo Southeast having a ring road in the Southeast. I did some of the preliminary investigation on how this can be carried out. Trying to run it across some of our leaders, it wasn't possible. Also, Ohanaeze was in the picture, and it never came. Nothing happened beyond the concept. So the other aspect is Ohanaeze should be more open in the way they deal with their affairs. Ohanaeze gets involved in politics because their major paymasters are the governors, and of course, somebody else mentioned that no onyeji Igu, which is very obvious. I mean, if Ohanaeze their bills are being footed by governors, what do you expect? Ohanaeze needs to run, and it needs to run with funding. So the major funding that comes to Ohanaeze comes from the governors. So of course, a governor that is his turn for a state to provide the president of Ohanaeze will not turn the other way and say anybody can just become the president and I'll support. No, the governor has a stake, a major stake for that matter, because it's funded. And of course, if the governor is good-minded, he can use Ohanaeze president to drive development across board, especially from his states. So I don't see a reason why the governors cannot be a part of the funding scheme of Ohanaeze. But what instrumentality do we have to restrain them from being overzealous or over-controlling or overbearing on the control of Ohanaeze? So there's absolute need for transparency and accountability. There should be a mechanism that should happen for people to have confidence, in return in what Ohanaeze is doing. So Ohanaeze needs to engage the global Igbo community beyond what we have in Nigeria, within the Southeast, in the Igbo, not everywhere across the globe. So Ohanaeze must have very strong, coordination on the Igbo everywhere. We can have a nation within this world that is called the Igbo nation, and people will definitely have respect for us. Those people outside the countries, most of them want to bring back their finances to make sure that at least the Southeast is industrialized, But they are terribly frustrated because there is no strong network. There is no confidence. There's no organization is giving back confidence. People can't invest when they don't have confidence, And when you have leaders that are most interested in politics, other than making sure that at least where they come from, they can look back to that place and say, we have security, we have a viable economy, we have an educationally upward, a progressive place. If you don't have this set of leaders, then nobody would dare put his money there because it's a sinking hole. So finally, my brothers and sisters, the Ohanaeze issue is such that we cannot dwell on it except we have the complete setup documents, operational document, or whatever you call it, of Ohanaeze, to understand how they ought to, implement their course and see where they have derailed. They have actually done some good things, but I think maybe the ones that they have not done well is overshadowing the other ones, because as Igbo, we are terribly, terribly, under pressure to make sure that we survive Nigeria. And I believe that within us, we already have what it takes to survive Nigeria, but it is this driving this vehicle. By the way, Ohanaeze is one of the vehicles, so we can actually get more of that vehicles. Finally, if you're talking about what we need, what Ohanaeze needs to do in the first place, Ohanaeze, above other things, must have at the back of their mind that our culture is sinking. The culture of a man designs the entire being of that man, from his yesterday to his tomorrow. We don't have it. So we are just strolling along the lane of Nigeria. So anything is possible. So Ohanaeze needs to quickly, at least, even within this group, we can actually get a concept, out, approaching the Southeast governors, individually, give them curriculum that they can have, a kind of culture, curriculum that they can attach to whatever the schools do currently. And this curriculum should just be Igbo culture. Igbo culture is our dressing. Igbo culture is our language. Igbo culture is our history. Igbo culture is our tomorrow. Igbo culture is our business stride. It's our economic values and all that. These are things we can put as a curriculum and attach. We can even develop them to be virtually taught, in schools. Enugu State Governor says he's doing something about model schools and he's priding himself with that. We can attach this to it and let it be a part of what the children will be learning. Anambra State said they are doing the same kind of schools. We can, of course, get the governor to sit up and put this as part of his curriculum. We can get Abia. These are governors that I think, for Anambra and Imo, I can't really talk about those governors because I don't know to what extent they are doing what they're doing and their willingness to participate. But these other ones, we can drive through what they are doing, insert this to their school curriculum. The state governor can do that through UBEC from primary 0 to GSS 3. They can do that through their UBEC and insert this in their curriculum. People can even volunteer to teach from a distance. They can give them these materials to add to their computer learning or whatever multimedia system they have in their schools. So please, let me not take much of our time. Maybe if there's need for me to come up again, I'll do. I hit the mark, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Orlando. Thank you very much. That was very succinct and profound. I like the way you organize your submission. So what you're saying in essence, one of the things you're saying in essence is that there is need for total restructure of Ohanaeze as an organization, but we can't necessarily suggest as to how it should go because we don't even have an idea of what the structure looks like because we haven't seen anything that shows that, right?
Sure.
Okay, I'll bring some questions to you after passing the mic around a little bit. I'm waiting for someone else to request the mic so we can. Okay, while we're waiting for people to join and bring their own ideas, let me engage you some more. Anyone about the youth? Anyone about the youth? Because I believe that if you're above 30 years old, you're no longer a youth. It's just that in Nigeria we're slow. We're slow in Nigeria, so it's easy for someone that is 36 years to ascribe youth to himself. But you're a young person, but you're no longer a youth, based on international standard. So I know about young people, what can we do from our standpoint to help Ohanaeze? Even if Ohanaeze itself seems not to be able to meet our expectations in terms of how they approach what they are doing. Eventually, I do this question, Bona. Ohanaeze was supposed to be a continuation of Igbo State Union, but Ohanaeze doesn't operate with the same approach and system Igbo State Union used. And when Igbo State Union was organized, that is ISU, when they started, when they were running, the people that ran that organization are of the same age strata with us. They were people in their 20s, 30s, and very few in their 40s. That means there isn't much difference between them and us. Maybe, perhaps, the education quality, the quality of education they had at that time is way higher than that what we have. But again, the internet has given us an advantage. We have an edge. We have access to so much information now. Anybody interested can access almost anything if they make enough effort. So that means that I go and I go like, parents, listen to your children. We are the leaders of tomorrow. We are fulfilling our prophecy now. So what can we do? Because are we going to be waiting till they do something, till they change things? What can we do from our own standpoint to maybe nudge them a little bit or help them or whatever?
Yeah, thank you, Chuka. It is very important for us to note something. When they say leaders of tomorrow, this is just an English phrase that is used to try to drive home a point, but that thing is actually natural and spiritual. So leaders of tomorrow, when tomorrow comes or when tomorrow is kicking in, God gives you the equipment to lead in that tomorrow. The equipment God has given to the people of today is the internet. So we cannot be talking on how people that obviously, the leaders obviously don't want the younger ones to come into government. They don't want them to come into public leadership. So, but you cannot keep waiting. And God gave you a new dimension of leadership. Internet leads everything. So while people are just busy using the internet for things that are mostly can be likened to pastime, it is important to also note that this instrument that has been given to us can be used to propel and change the landscape. So we have the internet, and I believe that younger ones like I'm still young, my brother, because we have not done what we ought to do at our age. So we must make sure that these things are done. So I believe that with the instrument of this internet, we can do a lot. The youth, for instance, can establish youth cultural centers online. So they interview some sound elders that we know will not mix up history because of political reasons, that will not shy away from saying truth. People we can refer to, people we can say, we can write their names and say, these are the contribution of Mr. So and so, that was born so and so time, that witnessed so and so. We can put that down, as a material for this cultural center. The cultural center must not be physical, so that our youths won't say we don't have money to establish them. Most of our youths can create anything virtual. So we have that power. It's the application now that we need to define. So one of them is that we can create this virtual, cultural center. We mix it up with whatever the youth wants to see for today, except the odd and immoral things. We mix it up with the jokes, with the comedy, with all the things that they go to the YouTube, to all the social media channels to look for. We mix it up with that. Create an avenue whereby they can walk into this room anytime, walk out of the room anytime, without restrictions, and also grab one or two knowledge per time. So I think that is one very strong thing that the youth needs to do. They don't need Ohanaeze to do this. When they do it effectively, they take it back to Ohanaeze, writing a proposal. We need you to key into this because the youth has taken power. So they are asking you key into something that is moving, otherwise you become obsolete, obviously. So, and people will key in. So when we are now asking Ohanaeze, what is your program for today? Let's key in. Ohanaeze would forever behave like the snail, and they will not make any move. So it is better we push with this kind of approach and let them join. Eventually they will. I was in one of Ohanaeze's program in 2017 when Ohanaeze was trying to counter certain narratives that was coming up. And in that program, I said, we can have a radio station. And the radio station will be Ohanaeze Ndigbo. So that's simple. That's the radio station. That's the name of the radio station. And what is this radio station going to be doing? There are propagandas that come against the Igbo nation every now and then by different tribes. I remember a saying that the mango tree that has fruits is the one that they throw stone at. Definitely, Igbo can be said to be that mango tree. So we have propaganda coming from everywhere every now and then. To counter your propaganda, you need a machinery. One of the very sure means of, that is to have a radio station. You can do that. So I said that then it was taken, but was not implemented. It doesn't take much to run a radio station, but the content is what makes that radio station sustainable. We have the content. We have the elders that know these things. We can creatively put them in ways that younger people will also get engaged in the radio station. So I think that, of course, is a part we can also look at. We don't need the elders. We don't need Ohanaeze as a group to have a radio station. It could be called anything, but let it not be political. Because once it is political, you now have problem. You now have all manner of things and all manner of people come to whistle your interest down. So I believe also that the youths can spearhead economic programs. They can design economic programs and take it back to there. You can have government in getting involved in this, but you have to now check what the government of the day, I don't mean the federal government, the state government, what is each of these governors planning to have in their program for the year? Download their budget, look at it, pick certain items that are youth related, Create a concept and push it to them and keep following them. They may not agree to do it, but you keep bringing it up in the public. Keep taunting them with that. Keep making them feel very terrible that they've not been able to key into something that will create success in that mandate they are driving. So he's also trying to cajole them to get involved in what the youths are doing. They need the youths, but they paint the picture as if they don't need the youth, that the youth needs them. It is never true. It cannot be true. So I believe that this also will help. As we move on, there are other things I remember.
What you're saying now I'm engaging you now because of the way you're going. I'm going to ask you the last question. What you're saying is telling me something. What you're talking about require a level of organization.
Sure.
It will require a level of collaboration, a level of concerted efforts.
Yeah.
It can't be done by individuals who just do things on their own. It has to be done. In fact, it needs some kind of a structure, a machine that will do the things you're talking about. So are you saying that we need to start something like a body on our own and do the things that we expect to be done and then push some things to Ohanaeze at some point? Is that what you're saying? And if that is the case, we have had conversations here where we talked about economic projects or economic opportunities in Alibu, and people come up and talk about the things they've tried to do, the things they've pushed, to the governors, and the way the governors ignore them or just say, oh, we'll look into it, and nothing comes up. So it takes us back to that point where we keep saying, you know what? We need to get involved in governance. We need to get involved in the process that determines who becomes governor or senator or local government chairman or state and federal House of Assembly representative. So if I know now, by the time I get by name, if you know Obukwali is going to be broad because you might move because they are all intertwined from what you're saying and from what you can see.
Yes. Thank you. I clearly understand all this. First of all, it starts with a concept. It already started. It started with a problem. So identifying that problem clearly gives us the concept on way out. Then developing the concept is to say, are we approaching Ohanaeze for this? Why are we approaching? Does it fit into this? Are we going to get a result out of it? What are the experiences we had? People that are part of it, we give their experiences they've had, engaging Ohanaeze. Is it the way to go? At what point do we engage the governors? Are they reliable? Do we have option? What can we do? Do we need social capital to do this? Who has individual social capital to do this? And how many, for how long would this take for us to be able to get something that people can rely on? Like the first one I started with the youth having the power in their hands. When you have the power, you don't look for the powerhouse. You're already the powerhouse. So it is just to get the youth that are thinking in that direction to begin to enhance, these concepts from that point. At that point, you don't need Ohanaeze. You don't need, even if you have to register this organization, you don't need to go through Ohanaeze. You don't need to go through the state government. Anybody can register anything, but just to create that concept well enough that it should be targeting what we said to be the problem that we have identified. So moving forward, we've seen that you cannot exist on your own beyond the virtual cultural center that I mentioned. You cannot operate everything on your own. You need to also engage the governors, the government. We have youths in government. If you go to Anambra, we have them in government. We can target them, and we have in all the states. So these are also social capitals that we can draw from, not just directly meeting the governor. Some of the youths in government are also feeling the heat, but they can't talk because they're in the kitchen.
I like this. You know how to just identify low-hanging fruits. I can see that you're used to doing things, making things happen. Thank you for that very, very succinct contribution. I'll come back to you. Just hang in there. Daniel Lebo, go for it. Go on, feature now, because I'm a problem here. The problem is that Ohanaeze is supposed to be the umbrella that galvanizes Ndibo towards progress, development, and the young people Amaro Ifenaga, and they are not seeing commensurate efforts that meets the needs that we're seeing. So how do we connect this? Do you want to chime into what Orlando is saying?
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Dalo. Kaniru.
Anyway,
Okay.
the thing is, with regards to the conversation tonight, first and foremost, ka nkene ndị kwugolo okwu. Ọ na-adịkwanụ mma okwu a na-amakwanụ mma because sometimes mago a na-akọta ife na-eme na be anyị, the problems a na-recommend the solution. A na-ehopu na ndị nwere capacity ga-anụ ife ụmụnne ha na-ekwu wee tinye ya n'ọrụ. Ife gburu these organizations bụ politics gburu ya, mana oge elugo mgbe anyị ga-elook beyond politics and start showing real leadership na be anyị. Ohanaeze, irrespective of ihe ọ bụ today, ọ bụrụ na ndị nọ na ya ma ndị na-like ịzọ ndọrọ ndọrọ na ya chọọ ọganihu ndị Igbo, they know what to do to achieve it. But I think one thing that you need to do first and foremost is to decouple politics from that organization or pan-Igbo organization. Politics should be decoupled from it entirely. Because he watched, yes, you have joined this space like multiple times this evening, and then I get to join other meetings I leave, emergency meetings. The thing is, well, if I don't want more go abonye kulia ke one other kulia na space, and they went the space. Eko maka, why is it that individual I make a bomb man is collective? I am a case me. I am a case here no con way achieve or if. But in the kwana ye phone or book on na accorded before. The Igbos of the 50s and the 60s, even down to the 70s, Melibe Diego, heartbreaking history. Today, look at the stats. I'll come with stats. Your statistics system, and for now, trend since yesterday. Maka maternity, child health care, women pregnancy, childbirth. So if who then will so many things in the Igbo melo. And a kundibo up just decades ago, no like 100, 200 years ago. So Guinea Mahaju because then with that unity, we were able, then we had a whole lot of trust. We had a whole lot of respect for tact, wisdom. Manata Tayan was there. So if I na achụbe ego, even na mbasi ndị kwa n'okwu na space. So if I na achụbe ego, onye ji igu ka ewu na-eso, na ihe asụ na-emebila anyị ife. Ihe asụ na-emebila anyị ife. You get. So, and all part of politics. Onye bịazi owulu ka ewere ego ka eme influence. State governor jide ego, chọọ onye ọ ga-appoint. Onye ga na-eme ihe ọ chọrọ. Ohanaeze, politics. So we need to decouple politics from it. If we want Ohanaeze to achieve anything for us in the Southeast. That is one. Then the thing is, we need to also start looking beyond Ohanaeze. Especially for the young people. We need to start looking beyond Ohanaeze. Because I would not necessarily say Kamal just drive a bar. And when they feel on how with the organization. So again, I had a time anaga. Before you know it, you've wasted years. But for the younger generation that are coming with new ideas, they need to come together. Work collectively as a people, as one. And then not because too politically inclined or induced to champion causes in the Southeast. We have a lot of problems. I think 1,001 problems that needs to be addressed. Happen to quite that social media be one as again we are still a third world country. Super third world country. When here DJ na buy na every other part of Africa. When here DJ Makaishi Goku, Makaishi behave. Makaishi Agbawa. So we still need a lot of reforms. Political reforms, social reforms. But then, how do we do this? We need to start looking at the people around us. If we somebody na-eme dị mma, ikunyelu onye a n'azụ, kwado ya ka o mebia. Let's start supporting each other. We are already seeing a lot of people doing wonderful things in the Southeast, championing so many causes. We need to bring them together into a group to champion and expand on these causes. Obulu na service na Priscilla bụ service culture evangelist. Na chukuna ji yawe na agbaso ozi service experience and customer experience na Southeast. Anyị sị na anyị bụ ndị na-azụ afịa. Mana anyị na-emekwa dị ka n'ịzụ afịa anyị. Is this something that can be emulated in the next 100 years? Ka onye aga agọrị. Anyị maka esi atụ ego. Are we doing it to make sure that we fulfill the needs of our customers, that we satisfy our customers? So a social problem. It is being addressed. And we'll go here with the Longya, dedicated Longya to champion that cause. We rally around him or her to champion that cause, to address that social, because it's actually a social problem, to address it. Because Ohanaeze, I don't necessarily think that, because the world is evolving. If you look at other parts of the world today, we keep seeing a whole lot of we are change makers, driving causes, addressing social problems across the world, social and economic problems. So we must not necessarily keep waiting for one big or the very big, gigantic Ohanaeze that may not be relevant in the near future to champion that cause for us. I'm not saying that we need to throw them away, no. But I'm saying that we need to start building on the younger generation to see the need to champion our causes beyond Ohanaeze. People are already doing it, but we need to rally around them to do more. And we need to start bringing them together to start working together collectively. That is another way that we can build that collective strength to address our problems in the Southeast. Because I'm interested in the social problems. Whether it is holding political leaders accountable, there are people who are doing that. How do we rally around them to become a force to be reckoned with? And within the law. I think those are the simple things that we can do beyond politics. Because Ohanaeze has become like a cancer. People are trying. Yes, how to revive it, but for many years, it's the story, at least every back and I got a colleague Ohanaeze Chukwu I say I get make and I get make and wait on you have knife. Why Obama cannot do when politics? And we know how politics, we know how education politics may be safe and abide. So if you can't beat them, you join them. That is why even some people feel when they join that group, they will swallow them. The same thing I condemned before, they will start doing the same thing. So instead of going through that part, it's only waste the other time, okay? Now it's all I've been with time. Before governor, the whole group. She from nowhere. We take politics on Dollar. I think in achieve election. Before she from nowhere, yeah. I sponsor your blue president. If any name when I was plan, I was see him Anthony Nagasa. So let's start building on our capacity. Obulu no Chukwu Emeka, Obulu no Jimmy, Obulu no Ifeanyi Ogbaji, who is now championing the Onitsha Business Hangout. Obulu no one night workable Alex that is now championing education in the Southeast, although on EMEA and Nigeria. We need to start bringing them collectively This is how we are going to build the leaders of tomorrow. Leaders are also political office holders, but those who are willing to sacrifice their time and resources, who are dedicated to pursue certain causes that will address some of our problems.
One big
and these
around
problems. Yeah, thank you. And these problems should also be tandem with the social SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, because the problem are quite far. So I think this is just because I told me to repeat the endorse Okugo. And nowadays I try as much as possible not to go and repeat what other people have said. But I think we need to look beyond Ohanaeze. Let's start building on this. If to continue, but we need to also start bringing people together, to start working together. Before you know it, will become a bigger body. And then while we are doing it, we'll be addressing our problem. Because here in our talk, if I can solve a problem, you understand? So we need those change makers, we need to empower them, and we need to bring them together into a block to champion these causes. While Ohanaeze is there, but at least we'll all be witness to say that, yes, even though you are there as a socio-political organization, so let's start challenging them. You understand? I need now as young people, I know not together, beyond equal, all together and start championing this cause under one block. I think that is probably the only time Ohanaeze will wake up. And when they are waking up, probably will now be to complement what we as a people are doing. Thank you very much.
Dalo, thank you so much. That was a very, very good input. And oftentimes, when I didn't know, I could know things like this and I wrap accountability. But you're right. We need to hold people to account. We need to be more accountable. And even as a people, and part of the conversation, things like this, ideas, what I listen to ideas. Certain things we can implement it just from conversations I know here. So a lot of it seems like I want our own responsibilities and certain things I need email. In as much as Ohanaeze want their own responsibilities, but I need Rachel. We need to also contribute and start doing the little things we can do to build on that foundation I want. So we'll keep having the conversation. I want to bring someone else on. I think the next person here, Edwin. Edwin, are you available? What are your thoughts, Biko?
Casey. Casey.
Yep.
Biko, almost some pointers in our job to do down. Let me just drop them so that we can continue.
Okay, sure. In 2 minutes, because then we'll bring in I think Alamene.
Okay. So with regards to Oku Orlando Kuru and Daniel, if you ask me, I strongly agree with them with their position on the Ohanaeze has been politicized too much. In fact, Nigeria has happened to Ohanaeze and Igbo. So what we're thinking about now, Kunye mentioned ISU. How about us regenerating the ISU? That is one point. Us regenerating ISU is what I think. Because ISU over for a very long time has died. How about us?
No, you cannot legally regenerate ISU in Nigeria under that name because government will not allow you. That state will not be allowed by government.
Okay.
So you can take a similar name, yes. But the word state that is there will not be accepted because it gives the wrong impression.
Yeah. And I think just to branch it, and Jimmy, you mentioned it earlier before, and where a lot of legal requirements and restrictions, and where certain things that we can't just move forward with as a result of that. So when it comes to names that has to be included in the titles when it comes to what we have to stand on as an organization and and our goals and our responsibilities. Those things are well looked into before a bit of the whole process. So all part of the changes and all part of the reasons certain organizations cannot come in place, replace Ohanaeze, especially from a political standpoint. So yeah, Chukwuemeka, back to you. Do you have any other point to add?
Another point was raised by Orlando.
Yeah.
It was about the Delta brothers. In fact, I just learned this night that they are part of Ohanaeze and Igbo. I actually did not know, because in my own little knowledge, I have always known that they have always rejected the fact that they are not Igbos. When history says otherwise. Then, but in the spirit of togetherness and brotherhood, I don't think, although we don't have the local standing to make these projections and suppositions, I don't think, in the spirit of bringing them back together into the fold, that it should have been an issue if they could be president or not. But that is for Ohanaeze and Igbo, which I don't think we are talking about right now anymore. You understand? So
yeah, I don't think that thing is an issue. Somebody said it. I wanted to counter, because the thing rotates by state, from state to state, and now Imo Agago, so it's going to the next one in terms of alphabetical order. So I don't think that, I think that issue has been rested, because the former secretary, when it got to Anioma turn, the man from what's his name, the late President General, he was from Delta State, from Anioma. So I don't think that's really, unless Mahere Zikwago that issue again. But from what I know, I think that is a moot point. That is an issue that has been overtaken.
Information, please.
By presidents,
information. In as much as, yes, today we have that issue as new again, but I don't think it really would help us, because we cannot really go anywhere with the issue, discussing it here. So, but I mean, it's an issue and it is very fresh, but we can move on, with things that will make us progress in this. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me bring in the next person. I think the next person on the line will Edmin Ugu. Edmin, are you available? Please share your submission. If not, we can move on. Okay. Well, Edmin, I'm available now. So there's certain things I wanted to point out. We've had this conversation for a while. I think we have probably just less than an hour before I conclude. Or somewhere, any other person actually contribute to the conversation, please feel free to come in and share your thoughts with us. But I wanted to highlight 5 key points in CLO now, especially based on how we go tata, things I feel like we need to build on, based on here, people have also contributed to. One, I feel as an organization, need advocate for a political interest, or a political organization, but there are ways that they can do it. I had conversations in the past, and even continuing conversations about geopolitical restructuring. Their recommendations are important. They can always be consulted, as an organization. How can we chime into these conversations for the betterment of Igbo? Things like peaceful coexistence of Igbo people, non-Igbo regions. They can speak up on things like that. A good example, in Kenya recently, Igbo must go. It felt like they were quiet the whole time, right? When the interest of Igbos are being threatened, they need to speak up a lot more. Can they not visible? That they are fighting for our interest, and they have to be firm about it, especially when it comes to interest of Igbos. Things like principles of meritocracy. We don't get a lot of political appointments, especially on the national level. They have to firmly speak on the Igbos when it comes to equity, justice, rule of law, and most importantly, fairness. Those things are not important. A couple of issues have been raised in the past, and when an issue about the girl, I can't remember her name, but I think it had to do with jump score and things like that. and it erupted all over social media. A lot of names. It became a very, very tight conversation around Igbos and this like that. In some of those situations, they can come in and speak about how they can promote peace and unity, especially when it involves two Igbo people. A good example were Risco at the tomato case. They were quiet the whole time. There were two Igbo people being involved, but you can come out and speak. Hey, how can we make sure we promote peace and unity among these two Igbo people? And chime in. Those things now did not very, very important, especially when it requires advocating for the peace and unity of Igbo people. That's where I think they need to speak, come up and speak. Then number two, I think we have to go back. I need Ije back as an organization. They need to promote a foundation for, or actually stand on that foundation of promoting Igbo culture and especially our economic interest. Somebody who get here, there are a lot of Igbo events here and there. This is not at all. A good example, but the Igbo Hangout was done in Lagos. It could be done in Igbo states and every other places. But they were just non-existent in the whole thing. So you need to promote even things like promoting peace in Igbo land. The mother now said, no, we can't travel. I mean, you promote, say something. No, things are becoming nicer. Things are more peaceful than it used to be. Can the mother know when peace of mind, easy travel, especially during Christmas? A couple, what they call last Christmas or thereabouts, the government provided buses for Ndibo to travel home. Why can't Ohanaeze come up and do that? Is it a funding issue? What is really the problem? So they need to be in the forefront of that think home mantra, especially for our young people. They know very important. Why? Because we need to continue to have that sense of belonging. As a people, we need to take pride in cherishing the values and traditions of our people. They know very, very important. So they need to be in the forefront and pick up for us, not after the fact. Then number three, I feel within their own structure, how need they set up internal structures within, immobilizing and galvanize Igbo intellectuals. Jimmy, I call Jimmy Kuroku about something similar to this. Back in the 80s or thereabouts. Okay, they wrote to his dad and said, okay, do you want to actually be a part of this? We need to bring some of those things back. Engage with our intellectuals. Engage with some of the people, the prominent, and people who can contribute to our society, right? Promote those competent people and good people. Promote them to represent Igbos naturally, without any political influence. These people can actually become people who might even take up political positions in the future. But we need you people in the forefront of promoting people like that. So, and number four, funding. I think a lot of it lies on funding. The core, it has to do around funding. And thankfully, the Southeast Development Commission, the new initiative, I think might play a good role. I think within that commission, they need to actually create a source of funding for the Ohanaeze. But not just a source of funding, it has to be detailed on what that funding will be meant for and how it's going to be used. It has to be very, very detailed. In the past, then we go organizations, whether political, religious, even educational institutions, have set up endowment funds. We've had conversations of this like this in the past. Even I think Carlo came in and talked about it. It's possible. We can have an Igbo endowment fund where people can contribute and build financial resources for the betterment of Indigo. It's absolutely possible. How can we do that? We need to seek and seek support from the diaspora. When Peter B was running for president, he went around, he traveled, he met so many Nigerians and diaspora. Igbo people came together and made contributions and made donations. We need to do that. Orlando was talking about Igbo cultural centers. Are they possible? We can have it virtually, financially. Are they possible? We have physical locations, but we need to go beyond just the national location. We need to go international. Or the possibility when so many regions abroad as a way to connect Igbo non-diaspora so that at least they can provide more funding. These are the kind of conversations and kind of ideas we need to share with those people. And then finally, the most important thing, accountability. Daniel Okuye, and I stand so much on accountability because accountability breeds trust. Or the more important. So how can we be accountable? How can they be accountable? Well, it's simple. You need to make sure there's a way you communicate with the people who are your members. A good example, iWiki creates something like, an annual communication pamphlet or something like that. Wikimedia, something very colorful like Ovation. In there, you went know so many things, sharing Igbo cultures, our language, and when information on what they've achieved. See, this year, they planned events in the years to come. Now our goal in the short term, now our goal in the long term. This is how we aim to promote Igbo people. It has to be annual, every year, so that even in years to come, 20, 30 years, and where copies, you can go back and show your grandchildren or your children, depending on your age. And back in the days, this is what it used to look like. Those things did not very important. And again, all opportunity you discuss of funding. Yeah, people, it's showing me donation. Then everyone wiki donates. But I think these are some of the ideas I need to share amongst us, and ideas we need to take to those people. I don't know, is there a way we can make this organization more efficient? How it's supposed to be, right? So let's continue the conversations around this. Where some ideas people can also bring on. We've heard so much from people here that have come on to speak. Orlando, Daniel, Jimmy, so many other people that have shared some ideas. We want to know more, because I think the next phase of the conversation, but then a direct connection with Onyebu, a full-fledged member of the organization. What does it look like from an internal perspective? Okay, so I think the next person here, Amram Edwin, are you available?
Edwin, okay. Larugola. Not Jebego office.
All right.
Okay, Biko, can I say something?
Sure, go on.
Biko, Imago, I could a number of things, but all the I could see more understand the position of Ohanaeze and what Ohanaeze is actually, tries to be. Ohanaeze puts itself forward as apex Igbo socioculture. So it does not say that Ohanaeze, because you understand Ohanaeze. No, Ohanaeze does not, go into macroeconomic issues and microeconomic. I'm just using those economic terms. So Ohanaeze is not to get involved. Where I expect, and I'm not saying that Ohanaeze is doing well, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that expect Ohanaeze. Of course, they can get involved, but informally, in trying to resolve those issues, or maybe on private basis. Do you understand? For instance, assuming the President General or the Secretary General, was seized of that matter, he can get involved, in trying to resolve them on a private basis. But I do not think that the idea of Ohanaeze is to get involved in everything in our everyday lives and everything dealing with Igbos. And somebody mentioned about Ihem Omo Boy and all that. I do not think that's what. Now, and again, because Ohanaeze is meant to be apex socio-cultural organization. Now, it does not say there cannot be other organizations. So there can be other organizations doing, handling different other points. But what they're saying is that Ohanaeze is the aggregatory body, that aggregates this interest. So I just want us to understand that, so that we do not lose sight of what, the organization is about. Then on the other hand, I think that, somebody mentioned it, and which is very important. We as younger people, because the truth is there are certain ideas that may be difficult for even the people non-isi Ohanaeze today to grasp, no matter how you push it. Why? Because for instance, even as young as I am, relatively, I'm not saying I'm too young, but even as young as I am, and there are certain things that if in their 20s, there are certain functions, certain apps, in phones and all that you'll be like, So these things, really exist. So the point is, what I'm saying is that generations come, what it means is that, what I'm saying in essence is that life is in stages. So then when we find the man grasp, we not go find in a happy space, especially in the non-ECA. Of course, the youth body can do a few of these things. So I could understand that now. Ohanaeze does not prevent us from having a different body, and which I think is even what it should be. So, and was here that body, of like minds who can champion certain things, then or that body can also, participate. But because is a separate body, it can be more focused. Do you understand? And have its individuality, that. But of course, because we are still Igbos, we're working with Ohanaeze, individuals and even the organization can also join and be part of Ohanaeze. But what I'm saying is, Oburo Iwu that na Ogaburi on the platform of Ohanaeze, and the idea of Ohanaeze is not to even be the only Igbo organization. No, that's not even the idea. So having a separate body also aligns with the idea that brought that upon which Ohanaeze was birthed in the first place. So I just wanted this direction so that we'll give our discussions a direction. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you. Yeah, back to you, Chika. Carry on.
Darling, for that clarification. How do I mean that we're lawyer around? And if we find a lawyer, because a lawyer way honor for that. I'm just kidding. Thank you very much, Jimmy. I see on this alpha on I think I'm Elamende. But I'm not think Elamane, if you're not ready to speak, we will have to move you out of the speaker corner so we can have other people around. When we can maximize this space. Orlando, your hand is raised. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, thank you. Before I leave, let me just make a few comments, like a summary of what I've been trying to say. I know this today's edition is related to Ohanaeze and so some others, in that group, but I strongly recommend the deliberation to move on to the point where we start creating, an effective framework, to harness the potential of our youth in order for them to also get to understand their culture. Everything is embedded in culture. This framework should be designed, to also put a subtle pressure on Ohanaeze, and the similar organizations, so they can also fulfill their mandate. There's a way they are structured, and if you check the way they are structured, they may not be able to achieve today's expectation. So, however, we must be cautious, because as state leaders, the leaders in the states are always interested in, exerting political influence on Ohanaeze. So they will also be interested in exerting the same political influence in any group that is created, that is gaining grounds and influencing a group of people that can be seen as a major number, in the system. So just to say that looking away from Ohanaeze in terms of moving forward in Ohanaeze vehicle is very important, but not to look away from Ohanaeze for those things that they are designed to achieve for the. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Orlando. I like listening to you. I noticed that apart from one Priscilla, Evangelist Priscilla, more one was on Eba, if any Eba. Or Makana, imagine in the beginning. See, do we have women in Ohanaeze? As soon as we're wine or Ohanaeze, I'm more and the wine to now as soon as this conversation. Maybe in a fact, no wine on Ohanaeze. I could call it the beginning. Then we're women, so you are free to join this conversation because you always have something to contribute. I mean, there's always an angle that women come from, and that always makes a difference. Because if I know you move forward, where a framework that can galvanize the young Igbos. Oh my God, I've quite a very, very key part of it. So, Biko, request the mic and join the conversation, make some inputs. If I were the balanced, man, I like more balance when it comes to gender to an extent. Yeah. Although I like easy, man, I know you know. Join us so we can move this forward. Let's get some softness on this conversation. Okay. Uchenna.
Anụ ihe m na-ekwu na
Yeah, Gani.
tupu ụmụnne m ndị ka nwaanyị ga-abịa etinye ọnụ, I love most of the conversation in Gonaga. And the clarity Jimmy wetere na this conversation na bụ ihe m nọ nga na-echesi akwasị Ohanaeze ndị Igbo bụ socio-cultural. Mana ihe na-ewute m na all these things bụ na ile anya na obodo anyị na East, ị ga-afụ na there are a lot of cultural clashes, or will I say cultural related conflicts na-aga on. So ihe m na-ajụ bụ na, or ihe m chọrọ ikwu bụ na, again, in fact, before my gawafa again, Chineke na, everybody have said almost similar stuff and all that. Mana, most of these cultural related, traditional related, more omenala related challenges and conflicts. Or when people say, okay, Ohanaeze ndị Igbo etinyela ọnụ na this thing, or akpola the conflicting parties, most times, ị ga-ahụ obodos ga na-alụ ezigbo ọgụ. We just start hearing people are dropping. You understand? Achomiku ha, but sometimes ị ga-ahụ onye a asị ọ na-adọ ke, ha na-adọ ọzọ. So I know that there are a lot of lapses. Mana, I think that ihe anyị chọrọ as obodo anyị bụ ndị Igbo wụ ihe dịka maybe ndị a na-akpọ murik na otu ha si akpa agwa. Ihe ọbụla gbasara their religion, however they tinye ọnụ ezigbo. We may not like most of the things that they are saying, but it's for their own benefit. I need that kind of, group. Get where for turn, be quick to defend the honor to case defend the honor of obodo anyị ndị Igbo. All they can know, ihe ọbụla gbasara ndị Igbo, we are on our own. And here they, because when a lot of things gala left, I got me say wrong, but left, I to three, these kinds of organization it's in your no. In fact, I actually put all these things. I get in a month. Okay, like we're in January, February, and it's becoming a lot. And has in the Umuwanya, so I'm not doubting Umuwanya so, but I'm just saying, like you said, maybe Umuwanya, so now Ohanaeze and Igbo that will be here to tell us their own experiences there. But okay, kind of lanya now who to Guinea Ohanaeze and Igbo everything utusha. But again, would love to hear from my sisters. Would love to. Maybe maybe you don't want to speak out, or you can dare your question at the comment section. I'm gonna go there. If you have a question or if you have an opinion, I'll be on the comment section looking out for it. Biko, Deya, Mobo, request for Mike, any which one, please. We need.
Yes, even if you're not in Ohanaeze ndị Igbo, even if we can in on Umuada or anyone, just as long as you have the consciousness, about what's going on and about the need for us to move forward together, you have something to contribute. You have been thinking about it. You believe in what we're talking about. So join us. I am a little above 30 minutes to go. So I got up here also now.
Biko, Kunye?
I don't know who is speaking.
Oh, Chukwuemeka.
All right, Chukwuemeka Ganyu.
Biko, this point our sister raises now, for me, is the focal point of most of our discourse. Because our society, morally, culturally, and otherwise, has lost it. And now, most people will not like it, but I just have to lay it out there. The churches are not helping us. the churches have been a breeding ground for Umuajo in our places. I would start by giving you a particular story that happened while I was in Nsukka UNN. There was this young priest that came back. One osisi that made their traditional worship. The young priest, the morning they all gathered. The bad people who know among them had they gathered to the place. The priest were put up. That was when I was still in Nsukka. Somewhere in Edem or something. The priest were put up. I said, before we proceed, no one here actually they were all men there. I said, not here that has not slept with somebody's wife. Because the person man. Do you know of over 1,500 people nearby? Nobody got up apart from the native priest. They take care of that shrine. So the point I'm trying to make here is our people in the zone are Zunoka. If you ask me, anything I actually right now, we should go back to our old ways. That way, people will be more upright. When Orlando was making inference to, or Casey, we made inference to accountability. For people to be accountable in the society we live in today, drastic measures has to be taken. Because the Igbos that we used to be, the Igbos I remember growing up, like my father, them, Mbaha, they were teachers. And when you hear that time, they will get up and say, no, that this thing, no matter how much you're giving them, they will tell you that money would not buy them. That has changed a long time ago. I'll use the mic for now.
Neka okasi we wolombo never. India na this money show. India na your money show no now the kuna na bocho no with something we na be about. Okay go out to anybody. Onye bi okwu nke. Mana eziokwu ka ikwulu. Ima na religion abroad solution. Religion just an approach to God. So anyone they take care to anyone body they do anything too much. They can see if no was only bazar religion like this or change one way completely was just said without effort, and without personal responsibility. Or if any use to if I'm maybe one day I got if I get kumake one day. If I do kubezoku, it's very true. And in your former if butelia. Somebody who hear about many times. Daniel who many times too. If a butelia find the value system, the value system is what has corrupted the church. Materialism is one of that. Like that statement, there are two sides to it. One about the person that is providing solutions is the one people follow. The other one is so ọbụna ị na-eke ego a na-eso gị onye ji ọzọ ego ọ nọrọ nwayọ because ọ nwere onye na-eso ya onye ọbụla chọọ ka a jidezie n'ego a ego a ka anyị jide ya ndị na-emezi ụka sịkwa ha m ga-ejidekwa nke m maka ọbụla na-eme pastọ ọbụla ma ejiri ego nwekwa onye ga-eso then ọgọbazie ndị mmadụ na-eke esi enweta ego anụnwa. So those things everything na-asa but it's rooted in materialism and we need
emeghe n'Imo steeti o nke abụọ ndị soro ego
also Nimo, on a everywhere, on a men and Nibo now. Like, in fact, did be up to Patagoquana village, Ron Oka, Mewazio Oka. Because I was hanging out, but it's rooted in the value system. And that's why I like what people have been saying here about us going back to our foundation, going into our culture, re-engineering our culture, doing social projects, cultural projects that will bring back those values that we hold so highly in high esteem so that we can begin to imbibe them again. And one of the ways we can do that is what somebody suggested here, that we sometimes we look for those people who make only Fedici. Ife diche, Ife puliche, Ife the great, you know, and portray them, put them out there, celebrate them, you know. Only one video watch it, and that inspired me so much. Video of Zebodiah, Unuma Zebodiah, Chikopala, the New Masquerade, the main actor on a New Masquerade. He had an interview with BBC. I saw it on YouTube, no, on Facebook. And somebody sent it to me and watched it for more than 2 hours. Hi, it was so good to listen to. The man be a good storyteller, you know. And it occurred to me that there is need for us to begin to platform people like this and tell their story. Tell their story in such a way that it will inspire any Igbo soul that wants to make something out of their life. Not just about success, but about the values. Because when they tell their story, you can easily derive so much from that in terms of principles and values in Igbo. Like that particular interview, it has so much to offer when it comes. It's so rich, it's so insightful, it's so easy to connect to. In Egia, it's just inspiration, you know. So we are looking seriously at going into that kind of project where we're projecting our icons, what you can call our icons. For that, last week, until last week, she's one of them. And we're many Kadipando. You know, we can find them, go to them, interview them, have a conversation with them, their story. That kind of brings out so much that we can glean from and apply in our own lives, emulate. Because when they find, of course, a gap, like everybody have been saying, then we gap between that generation and our generation. So one of the ways we can bridge that gap is to tell our stories, tell their stories. You know, okay, I care a lot. We'll be seeing things like that happening soon. Anyway. Why I can't about yet? Well, so bad draw. I got you room at time I draw. So, okay, Niger, I noticed you've been trying to come back. So, do you want to chime in now? What the corner?
Yes, I'm here. I'm back. Sorry, it seemed I was a little bit too harsh earlier. So, Manacho Miji Wayo Keta we suggest something.
Yes.
Because there are lots of expectations on those people, man. We're on key, fan cover at all. So, Ogobana, on my own, I complain about them. Like with my little knowledge, and with so many ideas, but I incorporate now.
Hello.
Can you interject?
Ganiru.
Okay. So that's what me appeal. Can we repeat this topic again? Can discuss all this topic? Then Tony on Ohanaeze. Kopta can go the structure of Ohanaeze. Yana their blueprints kai we malo. Because most of the things I know here, man, I can now suggest a different group, entirely different from Ohanaeze. Because if you look now, Fadigo, Feliwagono, can't hear like that. Feliwagono, because in higher, with some things in the Kwesigoli achieve that they did not even attempt to do that. I've met Uche Okok one-on-one. They are former Secretary General from Rivers State. So Onye Rivers State. Amamna all these people. Amamna Rivers State is included. Delta State is included. Manobro so that place can be bono. Negodi this guy. Nnamen started going to different states where there are indigenous Igbo people. He started interacting with those people, trying to reincorporate them to the larger Igbo society. Within 2 years, na ife that guy achieve go ọ dị pronounced. Ọ bụ na ịkpa afọ kịta ndị mmadụ ya sị gị na ife this guy achieve goal ife o megolu ndị Igbo. Like I've had interactions with most of those people. If na-adị ekwu maka ndị Igbo in my little ways, na try, na wish, if because the thing, simple things I make can we about these people. So in like the first question on Joe, I've never heard even nada fobo obu na actually before you be after isn't exist. I need a form group. Onye ọbụla ya bata na the group ya dị willing ịserve ndị Igbo willingly pro bono, on a pro bono serve ndị Igbo funding here. Like Amaromaya the conversant with the organization of IPOB. Ọ bụ na ị na-ege Nnamdi Kanu ntị oge ọ na-adị ekwu okwu na redio, ana m efolu ya mansilo na asị mana YouTube everywhere. If you structure these people, if you their structure, if you Omandigi surprised how they were able to achieve everything they achieved. Find a structure down to the grassroots. So I need form a group. These people are social cultural group. Sometimes economic lifestyle of a people is part of their culture. So it is like in that example, boy, that's in our culture. No economic practice, man, our culture. And what on the other name here? Now I want name here. So, Obo na we come more together. We form one another group, independent of Ohanaeze and Igbo. We be do something. Mind you, I have a conflict of interest. These people fire any organization or banana patakwa in a ndị Igbo bokwa about culture, about social cultural lives of ndị Igbo. Ndị ama nkwekwa. So we can give it a different name. Wolu ebata.
Egwatunagi na akwara ndị nna ka ndị abụ, nke bụ eziokwu bụ na onye na-eme ife na-aga na onye ọbụla n'iru a na-afụ ya. Onye na-eme ife ọganiru onye ọbụla, ọ bụrụ ọsọ nke ya. Ife ọganiru onye ọbụla, ife ọra. Ọ bụ na ọ bụrụ ofu onye, ọ bụ na ọra mmadụ na-eme ya. Anọ ife a na-eme bụ for ọganiru ndị mmadụ. Ọ pụtakwa na anya ilo ndị mmadụ fụ na ọganiru ndị mmadụ ka a na-emele ife a. Ọ feel onye ọbụla chọọ ịne anya ga-adị careful when na-ene anya because everybody wants to be on the good side of the people. And nke bụ eziokwu bụ na ndị a abụrụzi young people, ndị a bụ ndị okenye. We need to always remember this. Ndị a bụ ndị okenye. I said it last week that before I ebido this Kunie Media, this Monday show thing, akpalụ nkata with at least 3 elders, people in their 60s and 70s, and they told me, we cannot be involved. I cannot be involved in any way. But I want you to know that we are behind you. Just keep going. You have our blessing. God need you. And I wasn't even approaching them to come and help us do the show. No, I was approaching them as professionals who have accomplished so much in their field to know that a time is going to come when we will call them to come and speak with us, come and have a conversation with us when we are having a discussion relating to their area of professionalism. So that's what I was getting from them. God niru, anyi wa di onu aga mezi fan now ogo na elugo. Anya digo Kenya. Because
just like what I said.
Yeah, when your strength is small, you take a back seat somehow and take an advisory position. So I don't anticipate any kind of resistance. What I anticipate is that I may find a more fuma, may I can see them, may I can do water collaboration, then with team spirit and community spirits, and where result to be very, very visible and significant. they will feel proud. To be honest with you, they will feel very proud.
Of course. Of course.
And then their blessing will come. Because it is possible that even though, if somebody could never, whenever two people gather together to do something, politics is involved. Even though amongst them, and we can when they na achonkefa, but then one dinner among them to sincerely and genuinely want Oganiru Igbo. Come on, there conflict between the two different interests. So those ones will recognize this and they will bless it. They will help. They will support. I tell you this. And when that conversation comes up, they will be the voice of reason. So I don't have any concern about that. Can you make good in kind first? Can you make good in kind? About Abazia Maki game. One you got a before. I'm not asking about Jebe because okay, join us. Chime in.
I think
Honoria.
this thing has speaker. Okay, Honoria.
Honoria, I froze me. Something
because
Donna.
In the spirit of getting goals, why don't us we start doing something right now as creating our own organization? Why don't we start a structure? Okay, instead of let's start things. Let's start laying the foundation. That's what I think.
Yeah, honestly, Chukwuemeka, I think that conversation, we've had it in the past, and we've had it numerous times too, about, or can I abandon a highway and start up something new? Do we really need to just work on a few things to make what we have a lot better? And as we've pointed out, to be honest, based on my own personal opinion, it's not easy to fine-tune the things you have and make it work more efficiently than for you to go through the process of starting something new and all of what it takes to make it happen. All the noisy, because in highway, over on other work or no, it's very functional. Ohanaeze, even in the last few months, have been, very. They've been very upfront in some of the things that they've done, and I think recently, and stories about they wanted to modernize the apprenticeship system, and they had conversations around it in Port Harcourt, trying to find ways where they can bring that system anywhere to modernize it, use technology, and formalize it in a way. So Obrona had it not dead and had it practical. They exist, we're just finding a way to make what they're doing better for us, and then for us to connect with them a lot more, because I need has in as much as honey there. So that I think is the point. Let me bring in Jack. Jack.
Wait, hold on, because one year again. So but I just want to say something. Somebody reached out to me saying that we can reach out to Nyawodo and that he will help. So Chief John Nyawodo, with all due respect, I will see when we can reach out to him and see if we can have some kind of a conversation with him. But no, I got made such normal interview and a bigger conversation like this. Because he was once the President General of Ohanaeze, and I'm known they go active a lot in the just for us to hear from the elders and then make some kind of interface. We have to do something on our own anyway. So can I move on to Monadamsel? Nendeo.
Leo, good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Mona Chimso. Mona Lisa, whichever way, so it's Mona for me. I just gafe on Kam Traya Sebo, Kam Traya, because Thank you. So I just gafe on Twitter. I found they buy Nasibo, so I was so happy, because honestly, I love to hear more of this language. So I'll quickly go in. So yes, I'm happy hearing all this development, and of course today is Iriji Dibo na the city not in Canada. So yes, Igbos are progressing, I would say, because now this city, Igbos are doing very well. I'm not gonna lie. If you talk about any community that is developing very well, Igbo should be one of them. And I'm so proud to be an Igbo girl. No, my husband Aburo Igbo, Iwatago. But Mfuka, like today in the morning, I was listening to the news and I saw CTV News talking about Irijin Dibo and our daddies and our mommies talking about the yam, talking about fish, talking about different things about this. You know, it's kind of giving me that joy that even though we are far away, we can still practice our culture. Say yes. And it's no longer the challenges are there. Even we as parents, we are trying our best. Kaifukwana umwaina anibo so kwa Igbo igotago, but that I do easy. So it's kind of a motivation for me that we have to start from somewhere, irrespective of reaching out to people. You know, I wasn't there in the beginning of the conversation, so I won't be able to tell what the topic is totally all about, but little I could decode. I think Onona Chokage, she puts everything together, right? And when more development in Igbo land and everything, if I'm right. So yes, I applaud you guys for putting this up. It's a welcome development, and for we here, I am proud to be an Igbo girl. You know, seeing this development from this side of the world. Things going on here and seeing that we are, doing very well. Yes, honestly, sorry, I'm going to say this. The Yorubas are doing very well because do you know how to speak Yoruba and all of that? And I'm like, why can't they bring up Igbo? And I know we'll get there. So we have to keep doing more. We have to go global. People need to know about us, know about our culture, our languages, and put it up there. Somebody like me, I will go and be learning Igbo to speak 100% because I wouldn't, getting a job just to speak Igbo for my Igbo community. That's a good one, right? So yeah, keep it up. I just came to say hello to everybody and to say I appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you so much. Take care.
Mona Lisa, onuga soka and okuga makakwa n'enu ya. Yeah, so isokwala Igbo ọfụma o, adị ama ama. Onye mekatakwa tinye oyibo na mana nke ịsụrụ asụ dịkwa mma ọ banyere ọfụma. Ndewo. This conversation is what we do. Hello, I can hear you. I can network in the Canada and we can get in Nigeria. I'm saying that we do this. This is the MONI show. It's a conversation for progressive Igbos. I na biaba bankata maka ọganiru ndị Igbo. Ka anyị esi dozie ebe anyị, ka anyị esi kwado ife ọma na be. That's what it's all about. And we do it every Saturday, 8 p.m. and we run it for 3 hours. I na track, I keep to the time. I generally call na galang, call the kwanola easier. And we also live stream it on YouTube and on Facebook. I am go 16 episodes already, covered the 17th one. And I'm on my political series. That's why we're having this conversation in this manner. So, maka isu Igbo ineku, onwe find I actually be doing another conversation. It's just a learning experience. Igbo language learning experience that will help people to learn how to speak Igbo, improve on their ability to speak Igbo, communicate in Igbo, especially in speaking and in hearing. At some point, maybe we'll bring up something that will help in writing as well. So family can also be involved in that one because it's going to be family friendly. You can even bring your kids to listen and be part of it and even speak, perhaps. On Abia, we are putting together a team and we're having the conversation and preparing for that. Ogafeme very soon. Jack, 19 okay. Go for it. Check him in.
Hey, my chairman. I greet you. Dalo,
I greet you.
Everybody. It's good to be here. I don't mind. Chuka, this is actually the first time I'm getting where, because my Saturdays are usually, occupied and very busy. So, and sometimes I'm in locations where network are stable. So, in short, earlier today, I've been struggling to join in. My network in Enugu are sharp. So, but finally I was here, and I've been listening. Great conversation about building collective strength, and but I think I picked interest when someone was talking about Ohanaeze structure and forming new structures and all. So and I will say this because I over the last 1-2 years I've been opportune to sit down with some of these leaders, even at the Ohanaeze level, and to be very honest with you, you know, before I started meeting these people and actually interacting with them one on one, I used to hold the opinion that they are really not doing anything and they are not interested. They are not this, they are not that. Onwe onye kwuru okwu, ọ sị na ha erichapụgo ọnụ, or na ha erichapụgo afọ and all of that. But I can tell you that some of those assumptions are abụrọkwa n'eziokwu, and which is why we need to come a lot more closer. There's a huge gap between the older generation and the young people in Southeast. And we need to be intentional about it, on how to bridge that gap. And I think that the practical way is for the young people to actually go to these older people, learn from them, learn from whatever they are doing wrong. We learn it. Do you understand? And then now improve on what they are not doing well. Ohanaeze has a lot of committees. It might interest you to know that they have actually a very strong leadership and strong structure, even at the youth level. I didn't know all of these things before. Again, some of us are expecting them to come out every time and make a lot of political statements and all of that. To go to Nandi Igbo strength and all of that. But again, forgetting that they might not really want to play the kind of politics that we are playing. That's number one. It's a different thing. So if we want them to behave the way we are behaving, then a lot of us have to get involved in the activities. And these things are open. When you get restricted from joining Ohanaeze, if you want to be part of it, then you can now learn the things that are not doing correctly. One of the areas in feeling Nahana lack is actually in media. Generally, media. Our businesses, most of our big brands, had a lot interested in the media. An average Igbo man who business guys say that now come on, get spend the 10 million naira on media and PR in a year. He would rather use it to gang on my gagolo champagne or something. Do you understand? Gagboling or gatano or something. It's a mentality thing. And those of us that are younger people that understand the role of media in building modern societies and in shaping narratives, it's our responsibility to actually get involved and begin to make these things better. There's a lot of positive things happening in Igbo that are actually not, being talked about, that are actually not, people are not aware of. Other regions are actually doing way better than us. But it's because there is actually no, a lot of investment in the media space. But I'm happy that in the last 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years, some of our sons and daughters are putting money in the media, in Southeast. We have the likes of Asha TV, we have the likes of Voice of the East that have just, gotten TV and radio license. I think we have Signature TV as well. And now, very importantly, Kunie Media is also here now, playing, their own role in shaping the narrative about Southeast. So I feel that we need to get a lot more involved. I remember when we wanted to host Ali Igbo Youth Summit last year, and you know, when I met Iwanyanwa and I was telling him about what we want to do, he was excited. He was excited that young people are actually conscious of the development of Southeast. Like I said, honestly, before I met him, I didn't have the impression that they will be so receptive to some of those things. The same thing with Nyanwodo, you understand. I've had the opportunity of having a conversation with him in Enugu, in his house. And, you see these people, you begin to realize that, look, something is wrong somewhere. Is it that they are not communicating properly, or, they are not really communicating what they are doing, or maybe the impact or the results are too little. You understand? But the intent sometimes now they quite genuine. So, which is why I don't subscribe to the idea of us trying to tear our leaders down. It's our responsibility to actually help them to achieve those things that we are talking about. Some of them were good intentions. Some of them don't have the skill set. They just occupy positions, right? But they don't have the skill set required to do certain things. Then it's our responsibility as ndị ihe gbasara anyị Igbo and ihe gbasara obodo anyị na-enwe ọkụ. It's our responsibility to actually come closer, a little bit closer to them, and then help them achieve those results. For me, I think our generation needs to do a lot more better in sitting down to have conversations as against just criticizing and tearing our leaders down. I mean, we've done that for so long, and it's never yielded any results. So this time around, let's rejig and change our strategy. And the strategy I always propose this time around is to engage, advocate, get involved, be part of whatever positive that is happening in our region. So yeah, I'll use the mic at this point. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Biko, just do one thing for me. Nibo, Wanya Fagin Nibo, Ibana Bendibo. So I am a Jack ever only.
Okay, Chuka, Afam Bozo call it Chimezi actually.
Chimezi na someone, so I'm not gonna that name. No, Nugi sounds more like you than Jack. Jack Ebo imported Amaram Western imported name. Amaram Kisi. Anyway, I'm a female. I know. Dalo, so much for your contribution. That was very profound. I like your approach to this. You brought balance, and that matters a lot. And that it shows in the way you spoke. We will make efforts. We'll make efforts in that direction. We'll make efforts in that direction. We will see how we can engage. We'll see how we can talk. Of course, there's a plan to. We may not be able to bring them here. If we can, we'll bring maybe one or two people here to talk to us. But if we can't, we'll engage them, see if we can do some conversation, recorded conversation. Because if a Jack will be easy, I've met a few of them, and when they speak to you, you're not dreaming, if I game is fun, but it's our time. We have actually run out of time, but I feel like the person needs to speak. Chikwere Ndoki. Chikwere, you just have 1 minute. Anyway, we're supposed to close by 11 on the dot, and this is 2 minutes past 11. So I'm giving you just 1 minute to speak to us. Daniel.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm very excited to be here. Chikwere. Sorry, pardon me. I will ask for permission to use English a bit because I'm not very fluent in Igbo.
Ganiru, your time now. Ganiru.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So what I will say is this: personally, if you ask me what the role of Ohanaeze is, I will say that they play a very critical role if you want to build the Igbo nation. You cannot jettison them. We cannot ignore them. Because at the end of the day, we need a collective force that can be able to unite us together. And Ohanaeze is already an establishment that can play that role. And I think the other space I was opportune to attend the other space, and I heard about people talking about how to get into Ohanaeze and join the organization. And I wholly endorse that. We need to get into the organization, register, and be part of the organization. But if you ask me, I don't know the way to go about that. So I don't really know how they operate. Although I base in Rivers, I don't know. I think they have a branch in Rivers State also. but I don't know how. I think they should just try to see how to reach out to the young people, see how to bring in young people into the organization. Because
Okay.
among the people like me within this my age range, we don't usually see, we don't see it as an organization that is accessible to people like us. The university where I'm from now, we have IYC, and the activities are they are always doing the activities around within their areas, right? And they always propagate and say promote themselves. So I hope one day we'll have our organization that can also imbibe that same characteristics, at least for the youth, or the organization youth wing, getting people involved. It may not be in River State. If they feel they don't want to start with River State, they can start with core. Let me not say core Igbo states, right? To not look as if I'm saying they are not the ones that are not core, but I think they can start with Southeast states. You understand? In those villages, try to see how. What's his name? Anambra first son, Okoye, Peter Uche Okoye. He mentioned that they usually have meetings in most villages in Southeast. But me, I'm not aware, and I'm sure many people are not also aware. So I really feel we should get closer to our knees in Igbo. They are an important force that we need. If you're talking about building a collective strength as in Igbo, they are an important force that we need. They are already registered. They have an already laid down structure with members across the whole Igbo land, even in River State. So we cannot say we want to jettison that one and build a new structure. No, we should get into that structure, make it better, and make it perform well. So that's my say for now. I'm
Okay.
just happy for the opportunity to
All
lay out
right.
my very grateful. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you so much, Chikwere. Chikwere, I'm excited to have you on this conversation. We love to hear from Igbos from the River State extraction and Delta State extraction. It's always interesting to have you around because Igbo 19, you're one of us.
Is he from River State? Obonye River State, Kobuno Obina River State.
I think it's from River State. The Ndoki that I see on this.
I'm from River State. I'm from
bio.
Oyibo local government area of River State.
Okay, great.
One Nedalo, they will. We would like you to come again. We have this conversation every Saturday, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we talk about Ifendi Igbo. That's all we do here. About progress, about development, about growth. That's all we do. And you are invited to come again. And come with Omunegi. Tell them that we are having a very important conversation here. If you haven't been able to join this conversation because we haven't received your request for the mic, please bear with us. We have run out of time and we can't have more people. This is the reason why we always encourage everybody to come in on time. We start by 8. If you come in by 8, we start talking with you by 8. And before 11, we would have had enough people coming and join us on the conversation. So, you have noticed we don't play with time. Once it's 8, before 8, we are on. Then say about Puboku. So try and join us on time. Try and coming on time and try to request the mic on time as well. That's the issue we've been having here. So bear with us. We can't have you now. This brings us to the end of this today's conversation on the MONI Show. It's been another beautiful, beautiful conversation with you all. I didn't know it would go like this. I was concerned. But thank God that we were able to do justice to this conversation without causing any roko and any troubles, because we are discussing the affairs of our elders regarding galvanizing Igbo towards development. And it went very well. I know that we couldn't exhaust everything about it, but I am going to game. So I encourage you all to share this space with people who were not present here or who are not present here. And then our YouTube channel, we have the live stream there. You can also share it with those who couldn't join or who can't come into Twitter because they're not Twitter subscribers. That will broaden this conversation and broaden our reach as well. Thank you so much to those who shared this space and this show during the build up to the show. Thank you also to everybody who made very good contributions to this conversation. Your input made a lot of difference. And thank you to everyone who has been listening for the last 3 hours or 2 hours or even 1 hour. You are very important to us. You are dear to us. We love you. We appreciate you. If I know Abukano Nkataga Ganyiru for a long time, because I want a lot of things to discuss. There are more than 30 topics that we haven't even touched. I come on politics. Once we're done with politics, we'll move to something else. It's another one. It's like a series. Sometimes we'll interrupt with something. Very soon we'll bring another guest again to do justice to one of the most important conversations on politics that we're going to have here. But in the meantime, by ourselves. Today we had it without any guests and it went very well. And we're happy. We're happy with you all. We're happy that you didn't hold back. And we would like to encourage the ladies, the ladies, always feel free to come in, feel free to join us on this conversation, talk with us. Because I'm on a private level now, work very well. So feel free. Look at how that lady came in, Mona Chimso. She came in and just, spoke, expressed herself in the way she could. Even if you can't speak in Igbo as well as she does, still feel free to come in and speak. As long as Igbo, you're one of us. We don't discriminate. I am an obro fault again in Marasu. So badro. Come on, isoloza ina pankata ina mutanwayo wayo. Mu wan wem nekoko aketa anwa. Azoro mu with Igbo, mana amara kwam ekwoku ni Igbo so much. That's why they have neku na school Igbo sometimes. Ekwo mezioku. Odemma. We will do this again next week, and it will be just like this or better than this. We haven't decided what we're going to discuss, but it's likely to be about political literacy or something about elections, but it's still around politics. Very soon, I got on politics. Another matter that is very, very interesting. We have started making post-production of our shows, of our content, and we'll put it on YouTube as well. So after this show now, within a day, 24 hours or 48 hours, we will have it post-produced and put out there on the YouTube channel as a video. So if you go to the live part of the channel, you'll see the live one. Sometimes we draw it when we post the post-production so that people can have the full package well put together. Or if you can also share that one with everybody you know who is interested in this kind of conversation. Till next Saturday, 8 p.m. Nigerian time.
It's the morning show.